How do you learn who you really are? It's not found in books. It's found on the battlefield. Warriors, welcome back to the Battlefield of Mind. I am Rick. You guys have probably heard me now for the last 100 episodes, but I am with one bad mother lover. Let's go in and talk to this knight himself, Mr. Cal Knight. And we're going to get into some hardcore warrior talk that get your notebooks ready. I feel like this is going to be one where you're like, holy crap, there's a lot going on that I should have taken notes for. So just get ahead of it ahead of time. And then I'm going to pass the ball over to who the heck is Cal Knight? I got to know who this guy is. So that way, when we start killing things, you understand the premise. Cal, who are you?
Hey, thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. So to make this something that's exciting and succinct, I won't get into reverting back to my early years per se, but let's just say on this journey of self-awakening and awareness, I've discovered that I'm much more than just this physical meat vessel that is relatively handsome and successful in the business world of luxury watches, but much more also a spiritual, eternal entity that is timeless. And it's been quite an amazing journey. I felt like I've lived 22 lives. Started out my career early on in sales, energy tech, and then elevated into the luxury asset space with watches and cars, which kind of opened up my eyes to how wealth works. But I didn't come from a wealthy background. I didn't come from a wealthy family. So to change my mindset and start questioning traditional paradigms of what I was taught and what my environment told me I would be is where the journey started opening up for me and where I started cracking this cosmic egg of following my telos or my higher purpose. And as I continued to follow that calling and do things that seemed traditionally per se risky, I realized that that's where the gold was. So as I continued to follow this like pull that I was feeling in my soul, I unlocked meeting new partners, networking with amazing individuals who've accomplished some amazing things, and got into teaching. I started coaching folks in the business sense when it comes to alternative assets and how to integrate that into their life and their business. Very successful. Again, I think we have 12,000 members at this point. It's one of the highest grossing online courses in the world. And then again, as I continue to question philosophically and spiritually what was going on in this world and everything around it called the Matrix, I had some breakthroughs. And that's where I started to realize that even if we're excellent at certain secular things in this life, there's so much more to who we are. And to ask the question and to seek that very question, who am I, is one of the most beautiful things that we can go after. And that's what led me here now. That's what led me to great people like you. And, you know, I could go into some of the esoteric stuff forever, but we can talk
maybe
about
we will.
that.
We'll see. So maybe we will. All right. So we're into the challenge the matrix. I think that just to make sure we're clear, people abuse this sentence pretty hard. Can you at least give me an idea? What the heck does that even mean? Challenge the matrix. What's the matrix? Blue pill, red pill? What am I doing? I don't know.
So the matrix, I know it's been overused, and I actually don't like to use it, but it works. And the matrix is this reality that we live in that we've been programmed to believe is the only way to live. So the matrix is something that many people don't see, and few people do see for what it is. And more people are, fortunately, through conversations like this, starting to see it for what it is. And the reason most people don't see the matrix, you know, it's not necessarily like a block or like a cube or et cetera, even though you could, many polymaths say that it looks like that form in sacred geometry.
I'm pretty sure it's really the green numbers and letters that go down. I'm pretty sure
exactly. Like if we want to go really deep down the rabbit hole, technically everything we experience is under the language of like mathematics. So even though I'm Cal, you're Rick, I guarantee you if we boiled it down, you could look at a bunch of ones and zeros and it's a program pattern that is occurring in this space-time. So without getting too weird about that though, to make it tangible, what I like to say the matrix is essentially all of the programming, whether it's the education, the family you grew up around, the environments you started with, the coworkers you're with right now that continue to perpetuate this narrative that there's only certain ways to do things, and that's called the status quo. And this matrix is seemingly something that's safe and harmless to a lot of people, when in fact it's the number one thing that prevents people from evolving and growing. It's like a mental prison that some don't know they're in and some actually start seeing. And then you can make the choice to, fight to escape or step outside of, I guess that's the best way to put it. So we could continue down the details.
You're doing warrior talk. You fight your way out, you say? Like
fight your way out. You have to. It's not I'm glad you named this warrior mindset. I think a lot of people are warriors spiritually too, and mentally, even if they don't think they are. Not necessarily like what the traditional sense is. Most people relate it to physique, as men especially, but it's a lot more than that. And the reason it's about a fight is to be genuinely authentic today. I don't want to be dogmatic, but from several observations and knowing a lot of people and experiencing a lot, in order to be authentic today, it is 100% a fight the entire way, because you are essentially standing for something that's original in a world that is almost 100% artificial, fake, ego-based. Go with the flow of what everyone wants. I seek attention where everyone will make me feel better, instead of just saying what you truly feel and who you truly are and what you believe in. To be authentic is a war. It really is. So.
Yeah. Let me throw something out, because there's a lot of things that you said I want to play into, but even the concept of authenticity being a battle, I think it's a battle until you get to a point. Until you get to a point that's much closer to authenticity. And the more authentic you truly understand thyself, the less of a fight it is. You can't convince me of something that I know isn't me. So if somebody is saying, hey, you're fucking stupid. Well, this is a judgment that people would throw around, or a thing that they'll say, this is the way that I will try to make you feel a certain way based on a judgment that I cast your direction. And we go oh, I don't want you to think I'm stupid. So what do I have to do to make it so you don't think that? And then we'll try and alter ourselves to fit in whatever judgment or blame or shame is thrown our direction. Well, the further that you go into your authenticity, the more that somebody says a judgment seems easy to not even have to fight. What I mean is, if I said, hey, Cal, you're 9 feet tall.
Right.
Do you feel offended? Do you feel like you have to change? You need taller shoes. You get some stilts. So you have to change yourself in some way. You go pretty good at measurements for the unit, because you said feet, which means I can measure the unit of which you're trying to say I am. But I know that I am not 9 feet tall. I would be the world record holder in height. That's not true.
Right.
So it doesn't offend me or hurt me or make me want to alter myself or change me, because I know myself. Mm-hmm. And I am not 9 feet tall, so I do not have to adhere to that. So there is no fight. It's okay, well, thanks, bud. You said a thing, you did it, but there's no battle with that one. Now the battles come in is when there's a little more truth to it. And people have a corresponding belief that may go along with that judgment. Maybe you're not that good at this. And you're like, well, parts of me have felt like that too sometimes. So shit, I can't say it's as crazy as the 9 feet tall thing, because I've also kind of agreed at points that maybe sometimes that's there. And then that becomes a little more of a fight, because I haven't gone far enough to know. And I think it's the part of the journey that you get to a point where you're like, no, I'm good at this, but no, thanks for your observation. There's a point where it's not a fight anymore. And I don't feel offended, or I don't feel I have to defend myself, especially when I have thousands and thousands of comments that are part of the shit show. And I'm like, okay, cool, dude. I'm not fighting that. I had somebody make a video to try to go against me yesterday. And I just kind of cool. Okay. That's completely all right. That's not a battle for me. That's just they're in their shit and they think that I'm a part of it. That's adorable. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to maybe put out, there's a point where you have to fight to the point of authenticity, but once you get closer to it, you can't really convince me of something that I know is not.
Yeah, I like that. And I'll add to that, and then also maybe add in a perspective of it that helps people get to that point, because a lot of the triggers come from emotional based triggers, right? So when you said you can't argue, you could, but it would be silly to argue you're 9 feet tall. Well, it's almost objective. And most people around you will also observe that you're not 9 feet tall. And so the consensus or the collective consciousness goes, he's not 9 feet tall. So you're wrong. So you're crazy. But if you say something that's triggering, like you're never going to be enough because of your father, and you have deep-seated issues with your father, then you are essentially programmed to basically you're reacting to that and saying, well, you may pretend you're okay, and then you start getting in your head and rummaging, and you start going off the rails. And like you said, you want to prove to people that you are what you are or not. So I'm with you on that. It's a war of internal self. It's like finding your true self and being confident and in your solid state of that, truthfully, and being strong about it. But one of the things that's really hard, and it's a courageous journey too, is there are times when being authentic, it's not just about your triggers and your trauma and your healing. It could be financially detrimental to you to be authentic sometimes. And you have to stand up for that and be prepared to take care of yourself and your family and the people you lead and still remain authentic. So I'll give you an example. You may be in an office or a business venture where the person who's leading it is narcissistic, and you don't agree with the way that they're handling things, and it's not correlated to how you like to live life and do business. And you're making a lot of money together, but it goes against your core values. So at some point you have decisions to make, which is, do I continue to placate this and be aligned to this and make a shitload of money? Or do I try to do something else and stay more aligned to my authentic path? And that's just one example, but financially that is detrimental in some senses. It may not be in the long run, meaning the good news is you go out and do your own thing. You have a better life. You end up maybe making a lot more money, but there's other things that are being run in these programs of the Matrix that make it a war beyond just our emotional triggers. It's like, sometimes it is almost like you are removing yourself from the pack. You know, in ancient times, if you were separated from the pack, you were essentially left to die because it was food, it was shelter, it was people fighting together as a tribe. Now we have more capacity to live and thrive alone, but it's still that maverick mindset that's like, in order to be my true self, I actually have to be alone and not be aligned to the group or the herd. But it's actually detrimental sometimes because it causes isolation, loneliness, the unique feeling that can kind of be a struggle, you know? So it's like this duality of, okay, this feels great. I'm being my authentic self, but I'm also it's going to be a tougher journey sometimes. It's going to be lonely sometimes, you know?
This is part of the journey for the answer, but still not a solution. So I still don't know what it is. You're not wrong, as there's a period. And with the concept of tribal mentality at the moment, there is a period that people don't talk about where there is loneliness, isolation, you're pariah, you're kicked out, you're exiled. There's a moment. Now, this is where I use terminologies like the eagles and chickens. Like, there's a moment where the eagle stops acting like a chicken, but doesn't fit in with the other eagles yet. And what people don't understand is when you outgrow your drinking buddies, and when you outgrow your party dudes, and when you outgrow your, poor behaviors that were like, distracting and not working towards anything of yourself. When you go like, you know what, guys, I love what you're doing, and it's fun playing Call of Duty for 14 hours a day. I love it. But I think I have something more I need to be doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stop doing the stuff with you guys, but I don't yet fit in to whatever I'm going to be doing next. And I think people don't talk about that transition period enough, because that's where you learn who you really are. It's the chrysalis phase that looks like you're not doing anything at all, but really everything is changing. Now, you don't get to go and hang with the caterpillars and then just go right to the butterflies. There's a part where you have to do this alone. Mm-hmm. And that's the part where most people, not all, most will go, I don't like the alone, and go right back to the old group. They go back to the old mentality. They go back to where they belonged and had acceptance and safety, security, and they will compromise their values, and they will compromise and abandon their dreams, and they will throw their goals in the garbage, and they will go back and get Prestige 16 in their Call of Duty character. They will go back to what it was, right? But the few that have that fortitude to say, I'm never going back, but I don't know what's forward, so let's keep going, will then find themselves evolving into the next tribe, the ones that fly. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Hey,
I like
you
that.
can fly, and I believe in you too. And you start hanging out, and you start doing stuff where you flutter and fall, and you flutter and fall. And then you start seeing other ones. You're like, dude, what you doing? You're not staying on the ground with the rest of them? You're like, no, man, I think there's more. You're like, all right, I see what you're doing, and I think you can do it. Let me show you something here, and I'll show you how to fly a little better. And then you start hanging out with other birds that fly, and you're like, holy shit, there's a whole world.
Yeah.
And if you ever try and go back to the original chickens and you try and do eagle speak, they're going to go, no, you can't, Cal. That's impossible. Nobody can ever do that. You're crazy. That's a stupid idea. That'll never work. Blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But these are the transitions that people don't talk about, is that middle space where you didn't belong with the eagles and you didn't belong with the chickens. You belonged nowhere. And this part is where you get to learn who you are. You'll reveal you to yourself. Are you a quitter or are you a fighter? Are you a damsel or are you a warrior? You will learn if you push forward or if you fall back. If you wait for someone to save you or if you're going to create the way. You'll learn who you are. You'll figure it out. And it's that part that seems to go untalked about often. Everyone talks about the answer, but not the solution.
Yeah, you're right. I love that. And the transition is where the beauty of the gold is, for sure. So thank you for that analogy. I think it's great. And I want to supplement it with something that I just talked to Coach Kavanaugh. He trains Johan Blake, Landon Collins, Goldberg, the wrestler, mental coach. And I connected with him on the Maverick Activation podcast. I'll introduce you to him. Great guy to know. But he talks about similar things where it's called telos, which is your higher purpose, like your bigger spiritual purpose. But you can keep repeating this pattern of this bridge of what you just said, and the way that he said it and the way that I connect with it seems to resonate with this eagle analogy. But I like this one where you essentially get to a point in your life, whether it's a good point or maybe just a safe point, where you've accomplished a lot, you feel comfortable, you feel secure, and maybe those are the people you keep around you, or your drinking buddies, or maybe they're business colleagues or partners, and you reach this little peak. And you sit on the peak and you go, well, this is pretty nice up here. Like, I feel good, I have my people, I make good money, I have a great job. But there's something calling inside, and it's like, there's got to be more to this. Like, maybe it's something negative that's happening to you where you like are drinking and you're like, I don't want to just be this person. I don't want to just go out and get drunk. There's got to be more. Or maybe you're living a good life, but you're like, I just don't feel like I'm fulfilling everything that I have the capacity to fulfill. And so you're sitting on this peak, but you see a higher peak, which is the telos. And in between this peak, where you've brought these people with you that have followed you, you now have a decision to make that looks actually really hard and scary, because there's a giant valley that accompanies this next peak. And that valley is the valley of despair, where you essentially look at this peak and you go, I know there's more, but to get there, I'm probably going to have to do things that are going to be very hard, lonely, awkward, like you said, on the way to becoming an eagle, where you have to face yourself. You have to basically say, do I want to be with this group drinking every night? If the answer is no, I have to make a decision. Guys, I love you. I'm going to take a hiatus. I got to do this for me. I got to move to a different state. I have this new thing I'm pursuing. You know, you might have a 6-figure job with a family and you want to go pursue an entrepreneurial venture. Like, that's not an easy jump if you've ever done it. You're like, I could lose everything. So I like talking about the valley that gets you to the next telos, and some people will stay with you throughout that journey. And those people are your people. Like, those are like, even if there's 2 or 3 over the 100, those people will follow you to the next peak. And then that's your, ultimate purpose. And some coaches can help guide you to that through a bridge to make it less painful. But I really think we're the ones who have all the answers, and we're the ones who have to almost be our own internal guide, our own internal coach, which we should talk about too, because there's some deep nuggets in that too,
we will, because we ask the questions that people don't know to ask yet. Yeah, the way I just took what you were saying is the Hero with 1,000 Faces, the Joseph Campbell book, where you get into this is just the way that all of the stories go for the hero who goes through like that, call to adventure and refusing the call and the supernatural aid. And I think what I was hearing from this metamorphosis aspect is where people have gone into the road of trials enough to have some success, and then they run into the woman as temptress phase, which is where the hero is tempted to abandon or stray from his quest. Traditionally, the temptation is a love interest, but it can also manifest itself in other forms like wealth and fame or simple security. Like, hey, I did pretty good. I made it. Hey, Did you see that win? I won. And they're like, hey, you did, but you didn't finish, but you did get some W's in there. And they're like, nope, good enough, man. I'm just going to stay right here. And it's very tempting to not go and fight Darth Vader when you've got some wins under your belt. I don't need to go do the big fight. I don't need to figure all that out. I'm okay. I'm going to stay here. And people stay in a couple of these phases for a long time, but this one can be years.
Yeah, you're
years.
right.
You're stuck in that. Like I had some wins. I had some successes. I was on that show, or I did that thing, or I won that championship, or I did a thing here. I made some money. Like I'm doing okay, but not really doing what you're meant to do because you stuck yourself from a little bit of some wins.
You're right. I love that. Yeah. If people study Joe Campbell's hero's journey, it's actually insanely amazing how the archetype fits into almost everyone who's following their calling's journey, or the book The Alchemist, which I love, by Paulo Coelho. And it's very similar, but I was listening to, there you go. Boom. Yeah. It's a classic. So, I was listening to Deion Sanders recently, who had the same experience. And what was interesting about the way he said it was, throughout his journey, it was like on paper, he had everything that every human could ever dream of, right? 10 cars in the driveway, 8 women in his bed, multi-million-dollar contracts. But he was at the most depressed he had ever been. He was like doing pills, borderline suicidal. And it's like mentally, one may think, how can you get to that point when egotistically or achievement-wise, you're achieving everything that you're meant to do? But the truth of the matter is, I think people in their ego always think they're meant to do something until they either have a breakthrough or they connect to something that's a form of suffering for higher intent. And they go, fuck, like there's more here than I could have ever imagined. And I just have to let it out, or I have to at least try to pursue it, even if I fall, even if I am not this amazing fame success, right? And celebrities have a harder time, I think, than most with this, because they trap themselves in their own ego based on the character they create with their art or their craft. And people think they have it great. And I'm like, I know artists who are authentic, who have a great life. I know artists who are not authentic, who are very successful, who feel like they're trapped, like they can't be themselves because they've created this successful ego shell around who they are. So I just wanted to add to that because
it's fair. Well, it's part of the find thyself. And this is where I think you and I are on the same mission here, where like we help people find thyself. Like, do you ask the right questions to get past your own security? And in this case, even in my own journey, one of the toughest things that I can relate to with Deion Sanders is one of the hardest battles I ever had to do was truly winning.
Was truly what?
Winning.
Oh, winning.
When you win.
Yeah.
What do you learn when you win?
Well, when I win, I learn that it feels great, and then I just want more of the winning. I don't necessarily want to.
What did you learn? How did you grow from the win?
Right. You don't learn as much as when you lose. That's for sure.
When you get your ass kicked, you pay attention. But if you won, you're like, who's the man? But if you lost, you're like, what just fucking happened there? Like, I'm paying attention now. I'm learning 3 to 4 times more when I lose than when I win.
Yeah.
Now, even when I was like, hey, I need more clients. I wish I had more virility out here on the social media platform. And then I blew the fuck up. And I was booked out for 4 months, and I did not have the infrastructure for it. Okay. I couldn't deal with how many clients showed up. I had a bunch of money, but I was losing my damn mind trying to keep up with all of the jobs now I had to do to sustain it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy crap. I almost hit burnt out twice because I was overwhelming myself from winning. Mm-hmm. I won. I had it. I got it. Yeah. And I was about to lose my mind. I was going crazy because I couldn't keep up with the victory. And Deion Sanders, same thing. I have all of the wins, but there's this fight inside of me of now, what do I do that I have everything? There's no drive. There's no goal. There's no purpose. There's no reason to do more. And I'm kind of feel like I'm trapped in my own bullshit now, because now what is there to do? I did. Right. And so now I live for what?
Right. And the way I love the way you just share that. And the reason is this will lead into a really good thing that I think we're trying to get to for most people that they need to hear, which is everyone is so fucking dogmatic online now. Like everyone projects out like they know everything. They're like, do this 10 tips to fucking blah, blah. I'm like, first of all, try not to be judgmental, but 90% of these fuckers have never done any, like no real business success, no mental change. It's just like toxic attention grabbing shit. 2, I believe we are the only ones who truly know what we know and can find that. But we get there through the questioning. And the way you just said that was like, well, now what's left? Now who am I? Now what do I pursue? Seeking those questions and then following your own internal guide is what opens it. We can't just be like, here, this is what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like people want that. They want to be handed on a silver platter. This is your path. And it's like, okay, great. That sounds easy, but you are the only one who knows what you're meant to do. And if you don't ask the questions, how are you going to get the answers? You know what I mean?
They don't. And even still, there's so many traps in this question game. There's so many traps, especially in the answer game. I do agree with you. I've gone to the psychology conventions. I've gone to coaching events. I've gone to all these things. And I would be rounding up if I said it was even 10% truly have the gift for this job. Most just want to share an opinion or have attention. Most want to just be the guy or be the girl and just share like, hey, here's what I want to share my opinion is. So it's a really difficult game to find the authentic ones who have really done it. And I've talked to warriors who are so fucking deeply connected into what they're like, they've gotten to the point that like, that's a real one. And they don't advertise the same way.
Oh, yeah.
The Eagles don't have to do the flashy marketing. They don't do that. They're like, I charge high dollar because I'm really good at what I do, but I know what I can handle, and it takes an exhausting toll on me to do this expertise.
Right.
Like, I don't put it out there that way. I don't need to. So it's no different than when I trained MMA, and I was out in Couture's gym, and you train with people like Martin Kampman, and people are top 5 in the world. And you'd think that these like MMA experts are like, yo, hey, what's up, Cal? I can kick that guy's ass. I can kick his ass. I can kick his ass. Hey, you got a friend? I can kick his ass. I can kick everyone's ass. The people who are at the top don't even talk about they don't even talk about it. He was more excited about his 2-year-old girl's birthday party than MMA. We didn't even bring up combat. He doesn't talk about that stuff because the guys who are really doing it don't have to be flashy. I don't have to convince you I'm a good guy if I'm a good guy. I'm a good person, Cal. Hey, Cal, I'm a good person. Stop. I'm a good person. Let me sell all of the reasons why you should believe I'm a good person. Well, good people don't need to sell you on being good. They're just good. And this is where I think this is where I'm with you, is where most people out there are trying to tell you the answers. But again, even the last podcast I did yesterday with a group of guys, they caught on very quickly that the answer is not the solution, is something I say often, but sometimes it takes people a year or two to catch on what I'm saying. I'm like, the answer is it's not the solution. There's so many aspects of like, let me give you the 10 steps of the answers. Here's you. Here's the other side of the river. There's a river between here. You want to be on the other side, and that's where happiness is. Go get it, everybody. And you're like, yeah, other side of the river. That's awesome. I know what I'm supposed to do. How the fuck do I get across this river? I don't know. Do I get a boat? Do I build a boat? Do I need a raft? Do I get a bridge? There's a current. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. I don't know how to build a bridge. I don't have anybody who knows what they're doing here. Nobody else has gotten the other side that I know. Everyone says it can't be done. How the fuck do I get over there?
Yeah,
I know the answer. The other one I do is this. And this is one I've been using for a few years now. What's that?
Nice little Rubik's Cube there.
Rubik's Cube. It's a solved Rubik's Cube. I know what a solved Rubik's Cube is. All the colors are the same on each side. Yep. And people will even have like, bro, I got greens. Greens are good. I got the greens. Money is easy. Money is abundant. Money is everywhere. You can follow your dreams for money. And the rest of their fucking cube looks like this. It's all fucked up. They don't have shit. They just got one side of the cube done. Yeah. And they're like, I turn the back side all the time. I can't turn the green side, though, because it'll fuck up my greens. So I got to just do this side over here. I'm an expert, though. Their relationships are failing. Their life is falling apart. They have no close friends. They trust no one. They hate themselves. They live in an imposter syndrome. And they wake up having to dread putting on the persona of the money-making character. So that way they can be the big money Mike, instead of being authentic to themselves. And you're right, where people are saying, I know the answer, dude. I know the answer. 10 steps to a solved Rubik's Cube. 1, do the greens. 2, do the oranges. 3, do the whites. And you're like, that's not how you solve a fucking cube, bro. Like the people who know are like, right, that's not how you do that. Exactly. You got to fuck your greens up to get to the
you
whites.
You can see through it a mile away. You're like, okay, no. I know exactly that's a really good analogy too. And when you're talking about the river, I think people sell the solution because of 2 reasons. 1, it's sexier. And 2, people are really desperate. Like, and I don't want them to be, but people are like, have turned into sheep. Like, they're like, just tell me what to do. And it's like, stop succumbing to some of these fucking demigods and just wake the fuck up and do what you need to do to save yourself, because no one's going to save you. So I'd rather teach children or the youth or the future how to think than how what the answer is. Meaning, instead of giving them the answer, like 1 + 1 = 2, how to critically think about something so that they can come up with the solution 5 different ways and say, does that make sense? Should I be doing this? How can I pursue this? Because that's what we're not showing people, is like how to critically question shit that you're doing every single day that is probably killing you or fucking up your entire life, but you aren't consciously aware of it. So just simply by moving through life subconsciously, your entire life is just predicating the pattern you're on like a track.
Of
and
the
until you
programming
get
from
out
the
of it,
beliefs of the past,
you're like, where's the answers? And then some guru tells you an answer that fucking looks sexy, and then you try it for a week. Why isn't it working? Okay, first of all, because you're different than those fuckers. 2, you only tried it for a week. 3, that guy only has the greens on his Rubik's Cube, and you're trying to get all of them together. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm with you, man. It's just, and that's why it's good that you're putting this out, and the real ones are starting to aggregate more and more. I think like we're kind of the Maverick activation, the initiative term is like a spark. Like we're just trying to spark them to start thinking and wake up and get into fighting mode to be themselves. Because if they do, it's like a chain reaction. But it's not ready for everyone.
Cool, Cal, let's do something cool. I want to do something that most people don't expect on a podcast. And I want to do something badass. Let's kill something. Let's show people the steps to kill something. There are things that you have defeated, and you understand the stages that it takes to defeat it. Right. Now, if you could take something right now that you know people are working through, could be fear, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be anger, whatever it is. Pick anything that you know that gets in the way of people's shit that you're like, this is how you beat it. That's the answer. But this is the actual solution. You put one down, I'll put one down, and we'll make this a $10,000 episode.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So what would you defeat? If you're like, this is what, if I can just leave people with this fucking solution, now practice starting today. You now have each step. What would be the one that you would like? This is the one, everybody, I'm going to hit you with today.
I love it, man. Good shit. I'm going to say ego, and I'll explain. So I feel like ego is misunderstood. Ego, when it is mastered, is a tool, meaning it's something that you do actually integrate and use to elevate your message and get what you want. But it becomes an entire prison and block if you don't see it or if you don't know consciously that it's there. And I'll use an analogy of a journey of someone who I think represented that most people know, to help them understand how to dissolve the ego and then become no one. And Ram Dass would say, become no one, which I love. And I actually had a full-blown ego death where my body dissolved in a mirror and I couldn't even see myself, which was insane. I like this whole fucking thing I'll share with you. But
how many mushrooms were you on?
Zero mushrooms. Zero drugs.
How much masculine was happening at the moment?
Some crazy shit, but zero drugs. So Kanye West is one of my favorite examples of this ego death and how to leverage ego. So Kanye West came from mid-class, single mother in Chicago, and basically was told no thousands of times when he was becoming an artist and a rapper, and was put down and was told, you can't do this. You're not good enough. Not only by people who are under him and the environment of those chickens, but eagles, meaning like producers and people who knew what they were looking at and basically said, you're not going to make it in the rap game. You're not an artist, and had to leverage the tool of ego to continue to pursue something that he believed in, that he thought he was gifted at, to share with the world. And as time went on, he continued to follow himself instead of other people's opinions authentically, and became one of the most successful, influential hip hop artists of our time. So as that escalated, you were like, where's this creation coming from? He's so artistic. He thinks so different. And people loved it. They loved 2004, 6 Kanye, like the best guy on planet Earth. And then when he started getting too high up in the atmosphere, the ego started taking over, right? Because it was a tool that was leveraged to get to where he was. But when he got there, he started discounting people who cared about him and what they were saying. So he had close people saying, you're going too close to the sun, Icarus. You're getting too hot. It looks like you're being narcissistic. You're coming off saying you've killed God or whatever. Like, I'm Jesus Christ, cool, whatever. But at the same time, it's like, you can kind of sit there and go, well, are you? Maybe, maybe not. And he has a line in his song, I think it was more like 2009, where he says, I've been talking to God so long, he finally started talking back. And his mother died that year through a surgical accident, which crushed him because it was the closest woman in his life. So he was basically admitting, like, I've been basically taunting Jesus and God my entire life. And then, like, the universe is correcting and balancing, meaning, like, eventually you have a big enough ego. I don't care if it's a person who's equalizing you. The universe is going to equalize the ego, meaning you're going to hit your ceiling and your border and your boundary, and you get broken down to be humbled. So as time went on, he started realizing, well, shit, maybe actually I am a little bit over the top with some of this stuff. So how do I get to the point where I maintain homeostasis and be authentic and still fight this battle, but not get psychopathic, right? And maybe he's still struggling with a lot of that and mental disease. But when you hear him talk, there's actually stuff that is so pure in what he's saying that if he doesn't say it, 99.9% of the people won't get it because they don't understand what it takes to get to that point because they're so locked in. So I like to use that. And when I think of dissolving the ego, what I really think is you have to understand that there is a boundary to the ego where you start getting to a point where you're like, you're going to get checked by people that love you, not people that don't love you, but people that love you, or the world, and you're going to be humbled. And then you start asking questions that are more aligned to the purity of the intent. So this was a download I got from a spiritual place, which was essentially like, we receive answers from ourselves and the universe in the dimension of which we ask the question. So if we say, why can't I get a good job? The answer is going to be very one-dimensional. Like, we might just get something that happens during the day and it's like showing us that a signal, like, this is why you're not getting a job. But if we say something like, why do I feel so much pain when I try to pursue something I love? You see where that's coming from? That's coming from your heart. That's not coming from ego. That's not coming from judgment. That's not coming from a predication of your mind trying to be someone it's not. That's coming from a place where you feel it in your soul and your heart is raw. And when you ask those questions, you start realizing you can be vulnerable and be honest. And it hurts. Sometimes, guys will start breaking down, they'll start crying. But like, the truth is, that's where you get the answers you're seeking, So I think in order to dissolve the ego, it's not that you don't use it, but you need to get out of your head and stop pretending you're someone around these people that don't even fucking care about you. And just look in the mirror and get messy with it. Like, do I really not like myself? Do I really need attention? Like, ask the questions that you are so afraid of that you don't want the answer to. That's the way to, like, finally get the breakthrough, right? When you're, like, dead honest with yourself. Even one-on-one, you don't have to write it on a paper and burn it in flames like I think a lot of people sacred like to do. Fine. It's just like, look in the mirror and be like, am I really happy right now? Do I like my marriage, or would I be happier divorced? Like things that are like you to avoid at all costs. So, and then you can kind of start seeing it for what it is and integrate it in a more holistic way. So.
You want to see one of my skills for this?
What's that?
So what my discernment ability is to take something very complex, like what you just broke down with the Kanye story, and break it down to the most simple DNA of what it is. Mm-hmm. The core of all of this thing ends up becoming one bad word: truth. You said, are you willing to ask the questions that scare the shit out of you to answer? Well, what's the scary part of all of this? The truth.
Right.
Well, you have to be honest with yourself, and the truth will set you free. I do not believe requires confession to another. It requires you having authenticity and answering it to yourself. Are you a liar? Are you a cheater? Are you an attention whore? Are you an addict? Are you whatever? Can you at least admit to you what is? And it doesn't require blame, shame, and judgment. It requires honesty. And the reality right now, even the book I'm working on at the moment, truth seems like the scariest fucking thing in the world. Why do you think denial and distractions are so potent? Because the reality in the war with what is terrifying. And what I've found with thousands of interviews and worked with tons of people, that handling the truth is the hardest thing for people to do. So you're saying ask the hard questions and answer the shit out of them. And they're like, oh, that's something I don't want to do. Well, what happens if you do it? You find the truth. Well, what's the truth? Then I'll see who I really am. And all of the masks that I wear and the personas that I project and the badassery that I try and show everybody and the success mask I wear and the stoic mask I wear and the athlete mask I wear and all the cool guy masks I wear. Yep. Well, you'll see through the bullshit and realize I only have one side of my cube done. So fuck the truth. Fuck all of you. And if you even try and challenge it, you're an asshole, because I'm going to hit you with blame, shame, and judgment, because I don't want to be exposed for the reality of what I am. It'll make me not good enough.
I love that, man. And
so it's
one
truth.
of the things you said that I want to just highlight because it was really potent in that. Thank you for summarizing it. That was really what I was trying to say. But people, like you said, how to. I think, like you just said, people look at like this, like a scary journey of like judgment and like it's a bad thing. But honesty with yourself is actually a journey of grace. Like it's like a journey of loving yourself, which is so interesting, right? Like,
I hate to be semantical. I did a 2-hour training on grace with multiple people, and it became a massive debacle. Because the concept of the word grace itself has such a large magnitude, because you want it to feel like it's forgiveness or understanding, but it's so much different than that.
It is.
And I've got guys who are doctorates in theology. I have guys who are, they are pastors from the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then I got guys who are highly spiritual and not religious at all. I've got this huge spectrum of warriors who go, I think grace means something totally fucking different. So we use these words often, like you have to give yourself grace. And I'm like, wait, if we do it, we got 20 guys doing 20 different things. So the forgiveness element or the understanding without blame, shame, and judgment element, we can apply immediately. But if you say a word that means 20 things, people are going to go, I think I did it, Cal. But I'm killing myself here.
I'm glad you brought up grace. And the reason I use it, I've been exposed to religion. I've studied religion and I'm not religious. I'm very spiritual and I'm very critical, philosophical. I love the word grace for this reason now, because I have had some earth shattering, can't even explain until I look at Rosicrucian books, experiences with things. And what I define as grace is the rawest form where it's so the level of love you're experiencing, whether it's self-love or for whatever's happening to you, you almost can't describe it. Like it breaks you down to the point where you can't hold back tears and you're just on the ground. Like, and to me, when you're being raw, honest with yourself to the core, you actually can do that to yourself. But to me, grace is that. It's not something you can describe in words or something that's like, oh, I was just really, really nice and honest with myself. It's like, no, like you had a full on fucking breakdown. And like you let go, like, and like things came in that you couldn't describe. Like shit's just happening. Like
you found the real you.
Yes,
it brought me to tears.
Yes,
and that's what I mean is by truth is the enemy right now. And what you just described as ego is the opposite of truth. And so, in the way that you describe that, it seems like the enemy I really want to fight against is the lie.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Warrior, thank you so much for being a part of the information that we have. And you're part of our story as we are a part of yours. It's very much an honor to be able to connect with each other. If you want to know more or you want to get started with working with me or working with our warriors so that you can begin your path to authenticity, strength, leadership, and accountability, this is the way. Together, we are way stronger. Now you get to choose. Do you go forward or keep doing what you've always done? If you stay where you're at, hey, click on some of the stuff and follow what it is. We got motivational stuff. We've got podcasts. We got more things. Just subscribe and do the stuff and we'll keep you updated. But if you want to start going in, start jumping into what our programs offer and start your journey and being the hero in your own story.
Yeah. Or just see it for what it is and just, it's your brother in arms, but it's not a brother you want to align with. Because if we look at it negatively, then it's also like we're repressing it. Lies happen all the time. But if we're authentic, then we don't bullshit anyone and we're living a true life. And hopefully we can inspire others to do the same. But we can't.
Well, phases of belief, because it starts off with that. He did that to me. And then like, well, wait a second. He did that for you.
Yeah.
You know, and then it gets into the aspect of the piece that you're talking about, which is the elements where, just in case you wonder where I stand, I don't believe that a warrior is physical. There are 4 elements to each warrior. We have mind, heart, body, soul. And so if you think that spirit is not part of a warrior strength, you're out of your fucking mind. So like, there are just different people who have a higher propensity for one side of the spectrum than other. You say you are a spirit warrior. I lean into mind and body. You're in spirit and heart. Which one is stronger? If you think one is better than the other, you're out of your fucking mind, because heart side and spirit side changes the world. Don't think that it's different. But like, you know, we need all elements. And so a lot of times people want to lean into who's the biggest, who's the strongest. Well, you're missing the element of purpose. You're missing the connection. You're missing love. You're missing the elements of our emotions we repress into suppression. And so there's an understanding that you're bringing to the table that is a foreign language to how men are taught to be, which may be bringing you a purpose or a battle worth fighting. And I concur. And so this is where people will misunderstand me because of the way I come off, that like, well, it's not philosophical enough. And the psychology studies haven't lined up with your emotional connection there. It's like, no, we are all four parts. And if you don't understand that, you're teaching one side of the fucking cube.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
And so I agree with you very much. When I opened up Spirit Side, this was a couple of years ago, everything changed. In fact, my entire purpose was redirected from just understanding Spirit Side. My heart side was repressed. I didn't even crack it until last year.
Oh, wow.
You know, because I didn't know that. I was doing very well with just mind, body, and then I added spirit, but I didn't need the heart side until I started realizing that all the outlets I was using was still incomplete, and I was still feeling angry. And I'm like, what am I missing? And I had a heart side coach, a heart side warrior, go, bro, you blocked off your heart side. There's a wall here. There's supposed to be a door here. And once we opened that up, I found inner child stuff, which I didn't know what the fuck anyone was talking about.
I know.
Like, there are no inner child
shit.
here.
Our parents didn't deal with that shit.
What?
Yeah.
I'm looking in mind. I'm looking in body. I'm looking in spirit. There ain't no kids in any of this shit. I'm like, no. And then where's the depression and broken heart? It was all on the heart side. So I give you full honors for that, to say, I see you just challenged truth and lying directly through the armor or protection or prisons that people create through ego. Well played, warrior.
And you just said it. I know you want to add one too, but I want to highlight your cube reference again, because I've found with the men that I work with, they all still look to the same side of the cube. That's the light side, right? So the warriors go, well, physical, I'm in the gym every day. Money, business, I'm there. It's like, what about the relationships and your emotions, dude? Like the ones that you're hiding, you know, you're like, I know you think you're good right now, but like, I see that shit boiling inside you and you're going to snap one day. Like, you're not working on the shit that's the hardest, most ugly, because it doesn't feel good. It's like, I don't work on it. I don't.
Actually, Cal, I have it all figured out. Here's what I do. All of my sadness, I do not discuss. And so I convert all of my sadness into anger. And then I take the anger and I convert that into workout. And then workout is turned into progress. And then progress is now success. And so actually, I'm killing it, bro.
Yep. You're 100% right. I did a whole episode on like the synthetic evolution of like this projected external evolution, instead of just realizing just because you have new cars every year or you have a bigger fucking bicep, like, dude, yeah, but you haven't worked on yourself emotionally or spiritually, and it's going to add up. It's going to happen. And
yeah, well,
a good analogy I heard about this, from speaking of working out, is like, if you work out every day and you break the muscle down over extended periods of time, by the time you get to the point where you're pushing, you know, big bench weight, you're going to be good and you're going to fight all these battles. But most people don't go to the gym every day, spiritually and emotionally. So what happens is they just don't do it. And then something hits them, like their father dies or like their relationship ends, and they break down. Like they go spiral, because it's like you just snapped your muscle. Like you had no fucking, you didn't do it to yourself. You didn't build yourself up, you know, like you just avoided it, but it's going to come for you. Like the day of reckoning is coming, bro. And like, you're going to get broken, you know?
Yeah. You reveal you to yourself. And so you may have big biceps, but when it comes to emotional, spiritual, or even sometimes mental, you're very puny.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll have to carry the weight. You're going to wish it was physical, but it's not.
Yeah. It's hard, but.
Well, I mean, if you don't train, it is, that's for sure.
Yeah. Or have good people like you, like you said, when you start becoming an eagle or you honor that alone, your electromagnetic pulse starts attracting other people of the same nature. And that's what's wonderful, because we can have these conversations and support each other, versus you don't get this level of support from certain people in your life, you know? Like,
I want you to fly as high as you can. I don't have no matter how we speak, you are in no aspect competition, because the strongest warrior is all of us together.
Yeah. I like that.
If you're spirit side and I'm mind body and your heart and spirit, like together we make the full yin yang there. So fuck with both of us. I bet you can handle anything.
I'm down. I love that.
You see what I mean?
Rock and roll.
And this is where it's like you see anxiety and you see depression and you see the excuses and distractions. They don't hold up when your accountability is with other eagles. Because I'm going, hey, Cal, I'm going flying today, bro. You should come with. And you're like, I was going to not. How can I pass it up? All right, I'm coming. And then like you did a thing you weren't going to do, which made you hit a height you weren't going to hit because together we're better.
Right.
And so that's what eagles and alphas do is they lift each other up. And people have a very wrong misinterpretation of I'm a sigma because I don't give a fuck about nobody. No, you're an asshole. That's not a sigma. You're missing it. You're messing it up.
ASS.
Yeah, you're ASA. That's what you are.
ASA. It's a Greek letter.
We just made it up for you. But no, I really appreciate where you went with that, and it's cool to team up on those things. I'm going to go back in with your own story. I'm going to kill one of the things inside the story. One of the things that knocks people's motivation, kills their dreams, and destroys their self-esteem and can lead into a form of shame and depression. And it's one of the ones that had me beat down for 20 years until I cracked his code. And now we have coffee together every morning, and he's one of the funniest motherfuckers I know. And that's doubt. Self-doubt and doubt. Doubt shows up in the funniest of ways, and I have a way that you beat doubt immediately. The warriors that I train to face doubt, I'm like, how you doing on doubt anymore? And it's like, no, he doesn't get me anymore. I know how he works. So he doesn't destroy me anymore. Kanye, he wants to be a rapper. Well, you can't do this. You're not good enough. You're never gonna make it. Mm-hmm. Well, that's doubt. Mm-hmm. And people don't recognize because sometimes it comes from people you love the most. Stay between the lines, Cal. No one's ever done it like that. That's probably not going to work. That's a lot of risk. Are you sure that's a good idea?
Right.
And so people will start giving you cadences or give you, which we'll get to in a second, the rhetorical questions. And let's just challenge doubt directly. The definition of doubt, to know what it is that doubt offers nothing but takes from you everything. That's how you can tell what it is. So what do you do with that? What does that even mean? That's an answer, but it's not a solution. Well, let's work on the solution, and we have to challenge to see if it actually holds weight here. So if I were to say, hey, Cal, you want to help as many people with, the Maverick Aviation, you want to do, I have a goal, a dream, a vision. And people go, that's a stupid idea, dude. That's not going to work. What is my offer?
Nothing of a solution. So.
I didn't give you a better way to do it. I'm not giving you any type of assistance to make it work. I'm not investing into your idea. I didn't give you alternative paths to take. I just said, that's not going to work.
Right.
Well, there is no offer. Well, now you have to weigh out the offer. Okay. Well, if I go with my Maverick idea, this means I can fulfill my potential, my purpose. I can help a ton of people. I can create financial freedom, stability, safety, security for my people I love. I can live a day where I wake up every day. I'm like, I fucking love doing what I'm doing. I can have a life that's worth fucking being proud of. I got all this potential on this side, or that's not going to work, which is a guaranteed absolute nothing. Now the choice is in front of you. You have to choose which contract to sign. Am I going to go with potential and all of these things, or am I going to guarantee nothing? Well, which one do you choose, Cal?
Oh, I choose the place of going for what I want over the doubt.
Potential. So I'm going to go with my potential on this one because I can see there's no offer here. And if I accept that, that means I have to abandon everything that I have that would be worth living for. So you offer nothing and it takes everything. So we have to decline the offer for nothing. So thank you for your offer, but I'm going to pass that offer. I'm going to go with potential.
Right.
You're never going to make it, or you're not good enough, or that's a stupid idea. Each one of these, what is the offer?
Nothing. They guarantee nothing.
you just don't do what you were going to do. When you start catching what this thing is, you can now raise your awareness to the offers that people are offering you. That's dumb, or that's never going to work, or that 1% of entrepreneurs are all that ever make it. We can give statistics and bullshit to go like, do you really believe that's a good idea? Which starts getting into rhetoricals, by the way.
Right.
Doubt works in a way where they offer you nothing. And if you don't ever challenge, what are you offering me on this? What are you offering me? Then you'll fall for nothing.
Right.
And you choose that. And you watch people abandon their motivations, their dreams, their ideas, their visions, their patents, their anything for nothing. There is no offer, and you accept it.
Where did you come to that conclusion? Did you have an aha moment in your journey of 20 years where you had to?
I broke him about 5 years ago. I figured his shit out. Ever since then, we laugh at each other. I had coffee with him this morning, and I keep going like, you could probably do a better job of better offer, man. You got to watch out, though, because sometimes they team up. And, if bargaining gets involved, then they start going, you're not good enough, Cal, but you could be if you had this exercise equipment or this shirt or this cologne or this hairdo or these designer, whatever, or this car. You're not good enough, but you could be if. And then we start getting into bargaining, getting involved with doubt, or they team up. Fear, you add fear in with doubt, you create insecurity. So they team up.
That's so true.
And
fear
so
is their redheaded step cousin hanging out with them.
Oh man, no, fear is a bad motherfucker. Fear ruins people. So if you understand how he works, you can beat anxiety pretty easily. In fact, I've helped a lot of people no longer require medication because they're trained, not because they train symptoms, but they train the core. And if you defeat that fear, if you know how it works, he's beatable. So that's a different training. But I'm going to stick with doubt for a second. Because let's go into the rhetoricals and give people another weapon in their box here. Let's go ahead and sheath another one. Well, what's the fucking point of doing all of this anyways, huh? What's the point? Everything just failed. What's the point of this? This is stupid. You really think that's going to work? You really think that's a good idea, Cal? You really think so? These are rhetoricals that if left unanswered sound like doubt, sound like I should quit. What's the point? What's the fucking point? She doesn't give a shit. What's the point of me even talking to her?
Right.
That's actually a great question. What is the point? What's the reason you're talking to her?
Right.
What's the point of me even doing this stupid business? No, that's a good question. What are you doing this business for? What's the point? Right. What are you trying to do? What's the reason you're doing it? It's a good question. And I noticed that people are super good at throwing questions in the air, but they're total shit at answering them.
Yeah, man. You're right.
So a lot of times doubt will dress itself up as a rhetorical. What's the point? What is the point? Answer the question.
I love that.
So now in just that one thing with Kanye, you're never going to make it. You can't do it. You're not good enough. Those are all doubt. There is no offer. And if you accept the offers, you start sacrificing all of your potential and everything that you've ever wanted for nothing. Catch the offer and decline. And then if you ask a question that sounds rhetorical, like what's the point or why am I even doing this bullshit? Well, why are you doing this bullshit? What are you doing it for? Answer the question. You may find your motivation again.
I love it, man. I'm going to have to incorporate that too. And you just reminded me that beyond that, adding clarity to your life, which is huge for people on their path. One of the things that I noted as soon as you said it, because I was also simplifying like you do when you were talking, was that choice is actually what I think drives the most fear. You say doubt and fear goes hand in hand. The choice is, do you want to guarantee or do you not want to guarantee, but you want to find out? And it's the same thing as in the Matrix, to bring it full circle. Do you want to take, I think it's the blue pill, and stay happy and safe where you are? That's the guarantee. Or do you take this and never go back, but you don't know what's coming? And what scares the fuck out of people is not what this, like, it's, I want to take the guarantee that I fail because it's guaranteed, meaning like I'm safe and I feel comfortable, right? But if you explore the next one, there's no guarantee. But the fear, I think, is in either failing and having to live with yourself, but that's just their mind, meaning it could be looked at as lessons. It could be looked at the most beautiful thing ever, but they're like failure, or even more fearful of, which is amazing to me, how amazing you actually will become. Meaning like you do succeed to beyond your wildest beliefs and turn into someone that's like everything you dreamed. And that scares the fuck out of people. Like you actually could be this, the potential, right? Like,
right. It's a good conversation. Do you actually want to fight fear? I feel like we're making a $10,000 episode right now.
I think so.
Like people have paid a lot more money than this conversation is worth for a lot less.
For therapy that does nothing sometimes.
Correct. I would just put tools down on the table that you can actually start working and building with immediately. So it's up to you if you want to make this a 20K episode and show them how we fight fear.
I'm ready, man.
You want to do it? All right, Cal, kill fear first, and then I'll show you how we kill fear in the Warrior's Way. So how do you guys do it? Well, how do you do it? And then you take both of our pieces, put them all in your toolbox, and then become stronger.
I love that, man. The way I kill fear is, and have killed fear, and I train people to kill fear, is to go to a place where you have to admit and face death. Meaning you either need to make peace with the fact that you've already died, or you need to make peace with the fact that you're going to, no matter what. And you can integrate what you believe in terms of what happens as we transition into that, but it's not as relevant. Meaning you have to stop focusing on what you think is an end period point in your life. That is something you are accumulating all this bullshit around you for. Like, I'm doing all this. And you just said the question, but why? But fucking why? Well, if you already died, if you already believe you have infinite capacity, or you're going to transition and you're not going to be in this space time, then what's more important perhaps is saying, what am I going to do with my time here if everything else is already solved? Meaning money is not a problem for you anymore. And I propose that exercise, saying, let's just say I paid you $5 million a year and you didn't have to do anything. Well, what scares the shit out of people is not that they're actually now financially cared for. It's that they don't really know what their fucking purpose is. You see what I'm saying? Because they go, oh, I'll go on trips and I'll travel here. And I'm like, great. And then 5 years after you've traveled everywhere, what's your purpose? And they're like, and it scares the fuck out of them, because they're like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know who I am. So addressing these kind of like false terminal questions that we think we're living for, and just getting over them. Like, okay, say you died already. What would you have wished you had done? What did you have wished you had tried? That's a great one when you talk to people on their deathbed. It's like, what do you regret? And most of them will say, I didn't love this person enough, or I wasn't gentle enough with myself, or I didn't go for that entrepreneurial venture that I really wanted to, even if it failed. I just kept safe. So it's like, okay, well, face death. It could be a spiritual death. It could be an ego death. It could be your own, self-transitioning. It could be the death of a relationship that's toxic. But face it full on. It could be scary as shit. And then once you're done with that, say, well, now what am I living for? Right? Oh, I'm living for the legacy of my son. Oh, I'm living because I believe I have a gift to give the world here. Right? Great. Well, then fucking pursue that. And if you have your North Star, by the way, I call it the North Star. It's like your overarching conceptual pull of your heart. Then the path reveals itself. And I think people get too hung up on the path, right? They're like, this is the way my life is going to play out. And I'm like, but you're like a rat in the maze with your physical vessel. And your higher self is like the 10,000 foot spiritual guide looking over you, seeing your entire lifeline. So if you can't have a clear link to that, which I can show people how to do, then at least admit that you can't see everything. And where the faith comes in is, do you know what your North Star is? And if you go, I feel like I'm supposed to help people awaken. Well, good. Then every decision along the path then becomes, are you more aligned to that or less aligned to that? It doesn't even matter if you have to do something for 5 fucking years. That's a business decision. Because if you're generating more income to protect yourself, to go live that art out, then it's aligned to it. But people get lost because they start chasing things like jobs or money or fucking relationships that aren't tied to the North Star, and they're lost. So they're just like, well, I made more money this year, but I'm still afraid. Afraid of what? You don't know who you are. So fucking face death, and then you'll overcome it. So I say face death in metaphorical sense, maybe even physical sense. People who go through like near death experiences come back and they're like, totally different fucking person. They're like, I care about people, like Ebenezer Scrooge now, like giving away shit to people because they see what's important. So that's my spiritual aspect of it. I'd love to hear your tactical.
Yeah, I love this. This is very cool. So because I definitely have the tactical action aspect, and I love that you did the spirit heart aspect. This is cool. Yeah. All right. So you said face death. I'm going to try and get back to see if I gathered my spirit side lesson from this. You said facing death and having peace with mortality. And this is where people look at fear as an uncertainty of, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. And so and this is me simplifying, if you face your death, what you're doing is facing absolute certainty, because death is certain. We are going to die. And so right. If you're afraid of uncertainty, why don't you face your certainty of all of it's going to end at some point anyways? And
yes. Or perhaps yes, 100%. And you remove death as the sequence of what your purpose is, because it's like they're building a path for this endpoint. instead of focusing on the true purpose of why you're here and being present.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Because you don't know when you're going to die. You could die tomorrow. You could die in fucking 1,000 years. I don't fucking know. You know, like.
Yeah, with 1,000 years, I'm a Highlander.
But if you die tomorrow, does it meaning like if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, how would you live today?
I'd probably still shovel the snow and hug people.
You'd probably be doing something crazy while you're doing it, though. Fucking handing out $1 bills, giving hugs.
Everyone gets a hug and $1.
That's a great slogan.
It's actually a pretty cool shirt. All right, so I'm facing my certainty of mortality, and I'm going to die. And being able to face my death makes it so if I can face death, how can I not face these other things, the small things like a difficult conversation or taking a risk on something or answering a question that makes me find myself. If I'm able to look death in the eyes and say, I'm ready for you, motherfucker, how am I going to be afraid of answering questions that are hard? Like, it seems like it makes all of the other challenges that we have a lot easier to do because I faced a tough one. Am I on the right path so far?
100%.
All right, good. So then I can start asking myself if I have all these other things solved. If I were to say the thing that I think I'm living for before I die is money. Well, what if you have your money? Then what do you do with your money? Then I travel. What if you traveled? And if you traveled, you're like, I've been everywhere. So then what do? I don't know, which means you aren't living purpose. You're living for things. So you had things and you did things. Good. So now what are you here for? There's a thing before the Grim Reaper shows up that you're supposed to be doing. Ask the right questions. And if you've already faced death, then these are easier answers. You know, if you can't find it, start with what didn't work. On your deathbed, what do you wish you could have done differently? I had regrets, or I wish I would have taken more risk, or I wish I would have been more vulnerable, and I wish I would have opened up more. Well, take your wishes and turn those into present actions. 100%. You just gave yourself the answer, and just follow your feelings on this one, and you will find where your North Star is. Does that seem correct?
That was extremely well said.
Thank you. So that's where I was like, all right, cool. I want to make sure that because you're a spirit warrior, I don't want to goof it up because I want to be able to use this from my heart and spirit side.
Yeah.
All right, let's go mind and tactics side. So let's go back. So first, I want to go into fear on it by itself. And also, I'm going to give you the format to break and beat anxiety. This is a fucking $10,000 lesson, everybody. Take the spirit side Cal just dropped, and I'm going to give you the practical application of the spirit and mind side to make it so today you can practice every single moment in this. First, we have to address what fear even is. Fear is not real. It's possibility. It's a potential that could happen. Well, what if they say this? And what if they get mad? And what if I were to lose my job? And what if they were to do this? And what if that happens? And if that goes wrong, then what will I do? And what if they say this? Then I'll say this. And we get into all of these amazing futures, all of these, maybe that could happen. And what if I lose my arm? And what if the car crashes? And what if the plane blows up? And what if? Oh no. How many of these things truly end up happening? Well, it's very, very rare that all of the what ifs that you just created end up becoming the reality. These are all potential futures that most likely never, ever, ever happen. And yet you have to understand, if you have this propensity for anxiety, what you're doing is taking something that is not real, a possible future, a potential outcome, and we're applying our emotions in it. We're able to take our heart and soul and put it into an imaginary possibility and still feel all of the feelings of the breakup, still feel all the feelings of the job loss, still feel all the feelings of my mother dying who's still alive. I can still feel all of the heartbreak and the anger and the sadness and the frustration. And it's not even happening. People will say that you have a disorder. There's something fucked up with you. You're bent, you're broken, you're goofed up because you have anxiety. You have a symptom inside of you that requires medication. And I challenge it directly. I say, I don't think that you're broken. I think you're brilliant. What do I mean by this? If you can look into the fucking future, isn't that a superpower?
Hell yeah.
You're looking into the future. Holy crap. How many futures? Tons of them. I have opened 75 tabs of potential futures, and I put my emotions and thoughts and feelings into each one. I'm like, holy shit, you went into how many futures? That's incredible. Your imagination and creativity system is off the damn charts. You are a fucking superhero. Holy crap. No. I was diagnosed as having anxiety and I'm fucked up in the head and I'll always live with this. Well, that white coat is a belief system inside of you that seems to go against your superpower. You have a creativity and imagination that controls you. You don't control it. There's only two kinds of people in this game. You're either trained or you're untrained. You either know how to control your power or your power controls you. Which is it? Well, if you're taking medication to deny what you are, you will live a life and existence in a prison of feeling never good enough. We go back to doubt. What's the offer? You're never going to be what you're meant to be. So let's go back into fear. It's not real. So what we have to do is I'm going to agree with the spirit side on this one. First, you got to slow the fuck down and have some presence in the present. Let's look around for a second and see. Is all the potential fears that you've left open, are they happening right now? Is the lion that I'm afraid is going to eat me even in the room? Well, let's see. Like, oh my God, Cal and I, we could have he could be conflicting me and we could be fighting and this could turn into an argument. We'd be like, fuck you. And like, fuck you, dude. And like, we'll be mad at each other and like, we're going to be embarrassed. And I'm like, well, look around for a second. Hold on. Is that happening? Let's look around. Is that even a thing? You're like, well, no. Like, then why did we just put all this emotion into a thing that isn't? That's not a thing. So let's go in and look at some of the things of what happens when people actually know what happens. Because the definition for anxiety is, I don't know yet. Do you know how I can tell if somebody has truly medical issues for anxiety or if they're like, this was a trained thing. I learned how to have anxiety. Do you want to see a cool trick?
Yeah, absolutely.
If somebody goes back to an event, and I don't mean like, an extremely traumatic event, but an event where they had anxiety, they had to do something scary. Like I had to do a public speech, or I have to ask a girl out on a date, or I have to write a paper in front of everybody, or I have to do a thing that's embarrassing, or I could fuck it all up, or I have to do something like, I don't like that. I don't like it. But afterwards, it could be learning how to drive, or it could be doing a new skill, or first day at a job, or whatever it could be. And then now that you know, when you think of that day, what happens? Do you still have anxiety when you think about that job you were at for 10 years and you can do in your sleep now? Do you still think about that and have anxiety? And if I go back to the speech where I was freaking out before, but after I fucking nailed that speech, well, do you still have anxiety thinking about that speech that you know that you nail? And you're like, well, actually, no, I don't have any anxiety. I know what happens. Right. That means you don't have clinically fucked up anxiety. You're just untrained on your ability to handle potential futures. This gives you hope.
Yes.
There is hope for you. You learned how to do this. You weren't born this way. Lucky you, this can be trained. So now that you know that the answer is, I don't know the answer yet. Let's go ahead and test out if you have the abilities. Do you have the tools to handle what happens? Let's check, okay? Now, Cal, I'm going to go through a list here, and you tell me if you have any of these tools. If you have them, this gives you a fighting chance against anxiety. I'm going to go through the list, and you just say yes or no, I have that, or I don't have that at all. Gotcha. And I'm going to let you know ahead of time, you don't need all of them. You only need a few of these to actually win.
All right.
So let's see which tools you have in your tool belt. You ready?
Yep.
All right. The thing just happened. It's not about what could happen. Something happened. And maybe it's not good, but it happened. You know what the answer is now. First thing that I have to see if you have to deal with this. Do you have problem-solving skills?
Yes.
I've solved problems in the past. I figure stuff out. All right. Number one, you have problem-solving skills. We got one. Okay. Do you have creativity to think outside of the box? Like, ooh, I don't know the answer yet, but I can get creative in figuring this out.
Absolutely.
Okay, we got creativity. So I got problem solving, I got creativity. Now, do you have any form of resourcefulness? Like I don't have it yet, but I can Google it or I can figure it out or I can call somebody. I've got resourcefulness.
Yes.
Okay, we got 3. Now, support system. Do you have any people in your life who care enough about you to either bounce off advice or sort out a thing or have your back? Do you have a support system at all?
Yeah, a small one, but yeah.
Even still, you have a support system. So I got people I can rely on. All right. Healthy outlets, mind, body, spirit, and heart. I have outlets that I can do. It could be meditating. It could be working out. It can be writing. It can be crying. I don't care. Do you have outlets to make it so that the cup is full? I can lower it down so I can handle more information.
Yes.
We're good. All right, we got healthy outlets. Now, do you have faith that you are not the center of all that exists? There is more to this. And as a spirit warrior, I know the answer already. But
well, we talked about ego, so I am the center now.
I am my name is Cal, the Omega.
Yes.
There's more to this than just you. There, you have faith that there is more than just you. There's more that will be there for you.
Yes.
Higher power of whatever you choose. Okay. Now, let's go off into a couple pieces. One of these is a math question. So let's see how good your math is. First, let's get into an assessment of skill. You've been through some tough shit. Fair or not fair?
Fair.
All right. Now, through all of the tough things when you were much younger and you had less experience, less knowledge, and less understanding, do you have more knowledge, understanding now in the things that you have to face than when you were much younger going through the hardest things you ever had to do?
Yes.
Yeah, so we got more tools now. We're more prepared for whatever could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's do a math assessment to see your proficiency, okay?
Mm.
What is the percentage so far of your survival rate?
100%.
You ain't never died, brother. You still fighting.
Unless I'm dying every night and being reborn every morning.
even still, you keep fighting back. You ain't never been taken. You're still in the game.
Yeah,
no matter
100%.
how traumatic, no matter how vicious, no matter how mean, no matter how much abandonment, cruelty, brokenhearted, emptied out, destroyed, used, abused, no matter what it is, you're still fucking fighting. You are hard to kill.
Yeah.
Everything that's ever happened, you've survived all of it. So let's go through the tools. I've got problem solving, creativity, resourcefulness, support system, healthy outlet, faith in more than myself. I have more experience and tools in my tool belt than anything I've ever gone through. And I ain't never been fucking beaten yet. I'm still here fighting. Well, if you've got all these tools, instead of being paralyzed by all the possibilities, shouldn't I be a little more excited because I can't wait to use all these tools?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I'd be like, I can't wait to see.
Gave me a confidence boost again. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you forget all the fucking tools you have. You're like, why am I afraid of anything?
Yeah. What
like,
are
let's
you?
Go.
What are you afraid of? And let's have presence in the presence about it. And like, well, is the thing you're afraid of one of the things that are happening? So now that we have these tools, let's go back to your superpower where we're going into 10 or 15 different abilities. I'm going into all these futures, now 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 different possibilities that could go wrong.
Right.
The trained version of this is clairvoyance. Instead of going in with like, I have no control and I'm panicking, let's go in and go, what am I supposed to learn from this potential future? Take these tools in with you and see what you would do if that did happen. And then you will inevitably hit a point where the variable of future stops. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if there's going to be a new character involved or what sentences will be said or if somebody's going to do a thing that I don't know yet. So at some point, it's the fucking future. So close the tab. Like, all right, that's as far as I can go to learn what I would do in that. Close that tab. All right, let's go into this one. If she says this and then I say this and then I would do this, I would probably call my boys and go, what am I seeing here? And they'll give me good advice. So I'd lean on my boys if that ever happens. All right, close that tab. All right, what's going on this one? Now I can go into the future and learn lifetimes of information and then close the tab and be ready for anything. Now, there's only a couple of them that would be like, this would be a total shit show. There's only a few that actually would be like,
futures.
I got to be ready for these ones. These are likely, impossible, high probability, so I could be prepared. But I got all these tools to be prepared. What I just did is took anxiety and turned it into clairvoyance. You're not broken. You're brilliant. Look into the future, learn the lessons, and then take those lessons. And you just grew exponentially with 15 lifetimes in just a few minutes. You have a superpower. You're not broken. You don't need medication. You need training. And if you answered the first question where you said, I still think back of when I had to give a speech and I just had a panic attack, stay on your meds. But if you know that you nail that speech and you don't have a panic attack because you know what happens, this will work.
Wow, man.
Just so you know, this is 97% of people this works for.
Oh, yeah. I believe it. It's amazing.
That's how we have to know, well, what is fear? It's not real. It's a possibility, but it's not happening right now. And if you understand what it is, you can do that. Now take the element of the tactics and the action of what I just did and put that together with like, well, why don't you go grand design and challenge your death? What happens if you die? You're going to face that shit. Face it. Face it. What this is going to happen. If you can have acceptance in this, this means when I go into possibilities, I'll go, well, I'm not dying in this one. I ain't never died, and rejection isn't going to be the thing. You know, denial isn't going to be the thing. Someone saying no is not going to be the thing. This isn't going to be what takes me out. This isn't it.
Man, this is amazing. I wrote down these notes too for myself to remind myself and to maybe add to some of what you said, because you reflected mine back to me, which always gives new perspective. So
yes, please.
One of the most important things about all these tools I found is it was a similar thing to when I was really fighting and struggling through some hardship and I went to therapy. Therapy wasn't necessarily doing a lot for me from the perspective of outpacing me mentally or consciously. But what it did was it reminded me of the tactical solutions I have to get clarity. Because if you aren't reminded of those, you go into this valley of like hopelessness, like you're scared. But if you revisit this, to your point, like not only was I reminded, I was like, why the look at this shit. I'm like, I can bring it, bro. Like I have all of these. What am I fucking sitting here being meek about? Like, you know, and then granted, I know some people will maybe be at a lower frequency and want to get to the place where they just feel more confident about that, which is great. So having the reminder of these tools is huge. And this has helped me. I've actually practiced what you've said. You know, it would have been nice to connect with you earlier in life when I wasn't doing this. But when I'd have big decisions to make, or I would do things like move down to be with my business partner, I would say, look, is it a practical probability that something could not go the way I planned, or that maybe it would be adverse? And what you just said was so helpful. I'm glad you're sharing this with people, which is like, if you give yourself practical solutions to answer the hard changes that may occur, then what you do is you give yourself you give yourself the flexibility and faith to go pursue what you need to pursue without that guarantee of doubt. But you know you're going to be okay no matter what. You see what I'm saying? Because even if it doesn't end up the way you want, which maybe 90% it won't, it's either going to end up better or it's going to end up in a situation where you go, that was okay. And I actually appreciate this because I learned from it. And I was actually anticipating that it could have happened. And by the way, I still got what I needed out of it because it did happen, and that's okay. And look at me, I'm still doing good. Right. So I love that because it's such a tactical, important decision-making tool. And I feel like people can functionally remove a lot of their fear if they exercise that. And then a scientific analogy that I was thinking of when you said that, which I love, is if you look into quantum physics, they talk about the collapsing of the wave function, right? And the wave function is like this future of infinite possibilities. So you're, like you said, most people have these superpowers where we create and manifest our own fucking future. We don't think we have that power. We do. But if you're constantly focusing on the negative aspect of it and you're rummaging in your mind, then you're just like perpetuating all these negative futures. It's like collapse the fucking wave function and focus on one that looks like your North Star that you want. And motherfucker, you're probably going to live that life. It may look different, like the path may be squiggly or some shit, but it's not going to be, you're still going to get to where you were always destined to be. And I love collapsing the wave function. So I think that's what you're talking about. Getting all these other false futures or potential futures out of your mind and maybe getting focus and just connecting with it and resonating with that every single day. Because if you have it, it's like this like spark that you just hold on to. You're like, I got to keep pursuing this. You know what I mean? Like no matter what happens. So, good shit, man.
You look inspired. You look ready for battle, brother.
Always. But
that's awesome.
More so today after this than some days.
Pretty fun though. And so this is why talking to people like us is good. And people don't understand. We do the real work. There's a reason for this. There's a reason for a spirit warrior. There's a reason for the tactic. There's a reason for body, reason for heart.
Yep.
And this is also another thing I see where people lean so far into one side. Triple down on your strength, absolutely. But together we're always stronger. I don't deny anybody else's power. This is where I think people especially you said the industry, where they go like, my way is the best way. I'm like, your way is one way.
Yes, 100%. It's like, tell me that you want to strangle artists, and I believe everyone's an artist, without saying you're strangling artists. And the best way to do it is, there's only one way to do this. I crack 18 eggs at 4 a.m. and fucking go. I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, are you kidding? Like
4 a.m. every day, bitch.
Shut the fuck up.
I sleep 1 hour a night. I work 26 hours a day.
Like,
4 a.m. You're going to see my workout photo.
Yeah.
What did you do with your day, bitch? And I'm like, I don't know. I got up at
Like someone has some
7:30.
problems that they're not addressing emotionally here because you are over projecting hardcore. Like it's insane.
Which is cool, man. Hey, you got the red side of the cube done. Good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty cool stuff. And so this is kind of fun to have these conversations. And I'll just be very open when I watch people who do this. Do you know who the best coach is? Like out of the world, you know, the best coach is? I'd put this coach against anybody. Do you know who the best coach is?
No, I don't know.
I got this big ass fucking network for you to go against.
I see.
Let's all lock shields and see who's smarter than our group.
Yeah.
Let's lock shields and who can beat this army of brilliance.
Right.
Let's put all of our information, spirit warriors, heart warriors, body warriors, mind warriors, put them all together, line us up and say, who's going to Tony Robbins against all of us? Because you're not.
Right.
You're not. The group is always stronger. These lone wolves and people who think they're supposed to just be this isolated guy. You're in a cocoon phase, man. You're trying to give answers, but you're still trying to figure it out. No, the greatest warrior I've ever met is the collaboration of us. It's you and me together. You're not my competition. There's not even close. And the reality is I can probably only handle through true transformation, not information, transformation. I can only reach about 500 a year. How many people need help?
Yeah, a shitload. But to your
millions,
point,
billions. I can only get 500.
That's your presentation of integrity and authenticity, though, because real people will tell you that that's actually a lot of people. Mm-hmm. To reach them at a depth that is needed, that's a lot of people. Anyone who pretends they're about statistics or like they think they coach, no, coaching is not reaching people when they're at their low and you're handing them a solution to bandage some shit.
Yeah, I told him
transformational coaching is like, I feel like I have to remove myself energetically sometimes because I feel like I'm fucking part of it and it can be toxic. This person still like, you know,
it's true. It's very true. And it's a hard skill to practice. In fact, that's how I found my purpose, where I do take on the damage from other people's mountains of pain. I come into hell to pull them out. A lot of people think that this show is what I do. This show is a hobby, bro. This is not what I do. You get a glimpse of what I do, but there are people who are my ride and die warriors who are that way because I went into hell and I pulled them out of fire. And I'm not afraid to go into hell. And I've spent 8-hour fucking therapy sessions and I've worked through people's demons. I have fought dragons next to men and I know what it is to go into combat. And when these guys watch me go, hey, there is fear, there is doubt, there is anger, there's depression, there's anxiety. And I go, and they're like, dude, there is no fear in his eyes. He's fought these before. They know what I am.
Yep.
There's a series of authenticity that people are starving for, and they're looking for people who have been there. They will not understand what you are saying yet until they go there. They will not know when you say there is a depth to your soul and a purpose that is greater than what you understand. And they'll go, cool, next video.
Mm-hmm, right.
They will not understand that you have been to a place that they don't get yet, but maybe in 10 or 20 years when they have their rock bottom existential crisis and they end up finding who they really are underneath the masks and bullshit of their nonsense and their belief systems and their limiting beliefs, and they actually get just a drop of what it is you're talking about, they go, holy shit, Cal Knight was legit.
It's worth it then.
Holy
right?
shit.
We do what we have to do to make sure the message meets the people who are ready to receive it.
It's an interesting sentence to me. Wait, say it again. We do what we do to like make sure the message reaches the people
who are ready to receive it. Because the message doesn't need to be for everyone. The message needs to be for the people who need it now, who are ready for it. And then if in 1,000 years that message is still resonating long after our vessel is here, it was worth it. But most people can't see beyond this lifetime. So they will always build for this lifetime. They won't build for 16 lifetimes ahead of them. And I think you're doing that, which is why I wanted to connect with you, because you can tell who's real. And it doesn't have to do with followers, or it just has to do with certain things that are these subtleties about the way that the energy is put out into the world and how it was received. And when I talked to Coach Kavanaugh, he had a good point about this, because I have a lot of young men who want to do business with really high profile athletes, celebrities, different types of people, and they want to know how to connect. And I say, in order to connect with the energy that you want to connect with, you have to put out that energy and attract it, even if you don't have it yet. And if you're not authentic, you will be, from the people who are real, they will see through it in 2 seconds. And you don't want to attract all the fucking clowns. There's a million clowns out there. Just put out your message in an authentic way. And it's more important that one person hears it out of 100,000 who needs to hear it, who is that potent sword, than 100,000 people who have fucking surface level shit going on. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you're trying to transition from the chicken group to the eagle group without going through chrysalis phase, the eagles know what an eagle suit looks like. I'm like, you dressed up like a mascot, bro. What are you?
An eagle.
You got an eagle suit on, but you're not an eagle. What are you? You look like you're representing the football team. You're not actually flying. What are you doing? And then we'll see. And they're like, no, man, look, I'm an eagle. Check me out. Anyways, I want to work with high profile people. And I'm like, yeah, I see what you want, but you're not going to fly today, are you? I inspire people to fly by telling them about the heights that they can get. And I'm like, you ain't never been off the ground, have you? We're going to fly this weekend. You come in. Oh, I'd love to. I have plans. I'm so busy. I'm
so busy.
I'm like, all right. We'll see you. No, I think you bring up an interesting element of something that, working with men, I work mostly with men. I had women's groups and I still have women clients, but mostly men, because I only work with women who are willing to fucking work, because it's warrior training, not damsel training. And a lot of women are waiting for the damsel responses. And I'm like, we train you to handle your shit, not for someone to save you. Slow your roll. But here I am working with men. And there's a thing that men run into somewhere in their 30s to 40s, where there's a shame stack and a legacy reality. There's a thing where you go like, how will I be remembered? Did I do anything that mattered? When I'm gone, will I matter? Because you think of your great grandfather, you're like, I didn't know shit about my great grandfather. He had a whole life.
Right.
He went through problems and solutions and heartbreak and abandonment and abuse and loss and pain. He went through all these things and I know none of it. That's how long his legacy has gone forward for his experiences. I don't know any of it, and I'm direct descendant. He was alive when I was alive, and I still don't know him.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
That's a really good way to think about it, because it starts helping you, again, I think, awaken to the question of facing that question. What is my legacy? And especially, like you said, in that age range, because when you're younger, you don't necessarily think about it. It's not as vulnerable for you. You know,
you're never gonna die. You got an immortality complex,
right? You think, or you think you're like gonna live forever. But one of the things that I think is unique to each person, their own. You know, they're individuated. They have different, perhaps, goals in terms of legacy for them. However, I like to propose controversial shit. So one of the things that I always said was like, I felt like a lot of people used their children or that lineage. Like, so say your great grandfather was an amazing person, but you don't remember him. Well, why? I mean, was my bloodline, which, thank you, the legacy? Meaning, like, people use children as their legacy. And I'm like, look, the child is technically your heritage, but what's to say they aren't a totally, entirely different being? And isn't it narcissistic for you to use them as a fucking, like, basically live your dreams that I didn't get to live? Like, that's the legacy. When I think of legacy, I think of a perfect example is like Walt Disney. And the reason I say that is the signature of the frequency of the creation that he initiated was so strong that years upon years after he has passed away, all you need to feel or hear when you think of Walt Disney is the word magic, or the little arch going over the tower, or Disney World. And you connect to what the legacy of Walt Disney was. People all over the world connect to it, and he's not physically here, but that's the impact. So when I think of it, I like that you're talking about legacy. Again, to each their own. Some people just want a legacy of handing their family a better paradigm than they had, and I commend them. But what I think of is, why not think of it in the paradigm of, what is the signature of you that is so specific that if you deliver it here, it will carry on for out time through this string that people go, that feels like Rick. That feels like Ricky. You see what I'm saying? Like, they carry it with them in their heart and in their mind.
I don't think it'll do that. I don't, because you said Walt Disney and you think about Mickey Mouse, the arches, the magic. Right. I don't know shit about Walt Disney then. I just know stuff that he had an idea for.
but you still know him, and he's not here.
I know of him.
Right.
But I couldn't tell you an actual, like, here's something important about Walt Disney's character or his traits or how he was or how he handled things or his favorite food. I don't know him.
True.
I don't know Walt. I just know of things he created.
Right. And I think it's interesting because even if you're not directly impacted, or perhaps you're not looking into what he liked to eat personally, I guess we could go down the rabbit hole. But my thought process is like, does your personality matter as much as we think it does? Meaning, like, we, again, like to think that these things are important, but it's very like microcosm versus like, what are we really playing a bigger role for? I may think I'm the hero of my own story until I realize that my entire purpose might have been to foster a whole new wave of people, and I had to remove my ego from it. So I don't know. So I like to think sometimes I know my purpose. Sometimes I just have to open up and realize maybe I don't.
That's my personality. I like that you said rabbit hole after Walt Disney, because it's very Alice in Wonderland of you.
Yeah.
All right. So with this, does my personality matter when it comes to legacy? I don't know if it does, but maybe. You know, it's one of those things where, what do I believe my legacy is going to be? I have 4 more books that I'm going to write. I already know. I'm already working on the second book, and I'm going to remaster the first one. So everything is a choice has to get boosted, because I would kick my own book's ass at the moment. So I need to strengthen it. The next book is The Map Out of Hell, and that's going to get into the grieving systems of what we've got going on and how to actually fucking fight it. Then I have to get into identity. Then I have to get into values and love. I have to get into these different elements of belief and figure out, how do I break it down the way we just did with doubt and fear? Each one has a way. And so there's a purpose for all of these things. Will any of that matter about my personality? I don't know yet, because just looking at it, no. Won't matter who the fuck I am, because the information may at least give people a roadmap to transformation if they choose to follow the map. There's an opportunity. It doesn't mean a guarantee. And so there will be a legacy left behind of information with potential transformation, none of which they will ever know my favorite food. They won't know what I like to do. They won't understand the love I had for the people around me. They won't know. So those are there. But the other aspect of legacy is the things that I have shared and the things that I have connected and the things that I have taught and the men I have pulled out of hell, the women I have trained to be strong, the people who I have guided into their own authenticity, well, they will transfer a new set of skills and curses to their kids, different than the old ones, because we'll break those generational curses and then fuck them up with new ones, hopefully less detrimental. But train our children to be able to know how to fight against their own things, now giving people utility and hope. This will last, where they know that came from Rick for maybe their fathers or possibly their sons. After that, the information and skills and the abilities that I have trained, created, and taught will be transferred without name. They will come from dad. They will come from mom. They will not come from Rick, which means my legacy of what it is that I have done or what I have built or what I have created will long surpass my name. They will never know where it came from, but the principles hopefully are still transferring forward to go, well, if you're telling me I can't do it, what is your offer? And they may never know it came from me, but they'll still be fighting doubt 500 years from now.
I love that. And I was having revelations while you were saying that. And the reason is, it was kind of like sparking this idea that perhaps there's these elements of both. You know, I always like to think it's one way or the other. And then I remind myself everything is 2 ends of a spectrum. And when I thought of the nameless face behind the potent message of the information that could be so great that Rick is delivering, that's phenomenal. But then I also think of the personality too, in an individuated sense, and how the information is presented, because you have an authentic voice. You're a unique human. The way you deliver values is different than the way Dr. John DeMartini delivers values, who I just talked to. And I think of Robin Williams. Would Robin Williams' work been as unique if he wasn't so big? You know, like if he wasn't over the top. And so maybe it is both. Maybe it's a combination. I don't know. But it's a curious thing, because maybe that's what helps make the message so potent for people, and then they carry it on and make it their own. You know what I mean? Like maybe the guy who quotes Robin Williams 1,000 years from now is still quoting him, but they're not living like he lived in that big, but they still quote it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, sometimes I catch myself channeling my Robin Williams. Well, I'll go really, 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 really fast. I'll just break this down, 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 and then hard stop. make you think for a second. And then you're like, fuck, dude, you just fucking just pummeled me with that one.
That's cool.
So,
yeah. I like that.
I love doing that stuff too. It's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Pretty cool conversation. I really do think I'm going to call this, a $10,000 worth of information and then say with Cal Knight. And then after that, I'll say the invoice is in your email.
Love it. Fill them up. Fill them up, man. You gotta. Yeah, I've noticed that people like, it's interesting to say that too. I know it's like a hype thing, but I loved this subtle difference when I started coaching, which was like people are afraid to ask for value capture and people want to save people. But there is really a difference between people who give away free shit all the time and people who actually know what their value is and people who will step up to share that. And when I charge people, they're like, well, isn't that weird? I'm like, actually, no, because the people who actually pay me have the most dramatic changes because they're paying the fuck attention. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean I don't want to make things available for tools for people. It just means when you're doing real dramatic transformation and you got like these guys in your DMs who are like, save me. And I'm like, no, I'm like, well, no, I'm not saving you. Like,
there's a creed to it that we have for the Warrior's Way. And, every guy has skin in the game. Those who pay do pay attention. And so some guys can't afford it financially. So I put them to work. I'm like, you're going to volunteer then. You're going to be helping other men. You're going to be doing a job then, because what we do isn't free. But if you're not responsible for some element of your own sacrifice to be here, you will not do the work. And quitting becomes a very easy sales pitch.
Yep.
You know, and so I very much agree with you. I'm as far as businessman goes, I would by definition in, you know, the world aspect be a very successful man. Am I rich? I mean, my name is, that's about as close as rich is going to be. But as far as like, am I like a millionaire? I'm not. You know, we've made, you know, a few $100,000, which is good money, but it's, you know, I'm not like, check out my Lambo. I have a fucking Hyundai Sonata hybrid. I just don't want to spend a lot on gas. Like, you know, so I'm not trying to flex in any way or shape or form and capacity of that. So my business element, I do know that I am undercharging for my value. I do know this. I know for a fact it should be 20K and I made it 7. I am way undercharging, but I need to help real people. But it has to be expensive enough to go, fuck, that was enough that it sucks. And for most people, average income for America is 33K. If you put 7 in, that's a legitimate chunk. You will take that seriously.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And so I put that there. But then I also have elements of things that I do where the skin in the game is not a one-sided game here.
Right.
Every single month I talk to guys who can't afford it. They cannot, but they will fight through fucking hell for you, but they cannot afford it. And so every month I put my $7,000 in for somebody. We all have to put skin in the game for the creed and the Warrior's Way. I am no exception. Trust, no blame, no shame, no judgment, authenticity, willingness, skin in the game, protect your pack, and challenge everything. Our creed is solid, and I cannot break it myself. That would make me a unworthy leader. And so if I tell you to put your skin in the game, I will put mine in too.
I love that. You know what I was thinking while you're saying that is like, imagine these guys, you know, it's always like, I don't have enough. Which I disagree with, meaning like everyone's resourceful enough, like you said, whether it's a value trade or money. But they'll say that, and then they'll spend $250 a week drinking. And it's like, no, I mean, I have drinks. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, if you sacrifice $250 a week and you pay that to this, you would have 7K. So shut the fuck up. You just don't have your priorities straight. But it's always a narrative around what, and that's why, I mean, again, money is just one of these tools. I mean, it's a construct. I don't believe in the intrinsic value, but it is important because we live in that world that people who stay in those paradigms always make excuses. Meaning like, if you want to fucking level up, you need to change the fact that you just can't prioritize certain things.
But the best lies are 95% true. And so they'll go, Cal, I don't have the money in my account. Fact. That is a fact.
Right.
I don't want to talk about why.
Right.
But it is true. I don't have the money in my account. And you can look at my account, tell me it's not true. I'm like, well, let me look at your transactions. Whoa. Hey, Cal, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to hang out with you, man. I would have called you, but I was just so busy, man. I was so busy. I'm really sorry I didn't call you. You're like, yeah, no, that's true. That's true. You were busy. Let me see your screen time.
Right.
You're like, 2 hours of social media, bro? You were busy? Like, whoa. I was doing something. Les Brown says we're the busiest people that ever lived. We are the busiest people who ever existed. Don't confuse that for productive.
100%. It's a coping mechanism. I love this because we talk about, you and me talking about this. I've had episodes on this. It's like everyone can use these things that look like growth and disguise it as the fact that it's really just a distraction and a coping mechanism. Like, you know what I mean? And I still do it to this day. Like I have to catch myself and be like, stop.
Well, if you've abandoned your stuff that you have to do, and this is why I say, like, are you too busy? You're not too busy. It's just not a priority. And it's not even meant to be a judgment. It's just that isn't. And if you ever try to trigger some sort of defense or coping mechanism to convince me otherwise, to control the narrative, that's you being exposed to you. Right. And so a lot of people will miss what I just said, but that shows people's like, that's you. I just saw you. You don't see you, but you want to convince me of what is by omission and by convincing through lies and or defensiveness, anger, shutting down, walking away from the conversation, suppression, hiding, trying to over-explain and control the narrative through negotiating. I'm going to convince you in some way, shape, or form that what I am saying is true. But if you ever challenge my excuses, you will find a reaction. And this is where people get in their own bullshit.
The story.
Yeah, do you know what the hardest curse that I found on the map is? The hardest battle, the most diabolical motherfucker on the map. Like, and this is something where I'm doing a training on this. I don't even know if this will work. Every time I do this, it fucks up. So let's chance fucking up. Where do I have where I can share the screen? I'm going to do something with you. I'm telling you right now, this is a $10,000 conversation.
Oh, nice.
So this is my map that I use. I have a training on this on the 25th this month that I'm doing for like $20. It's already almost sold out. I only have 300 spots and it's already almost done.
Nice.
So cool thing with this is if you are subscribed to my Patreon, you get in for free. I think it's only $6, or you can pay the 20 and don't subscribe to shit. I'm happy either way. Mm-hmm. So in which case, this is where I get into the element of let me go to the right part. The element of what parts of us are in what. And so we're talking about fear, excuses, doubt, distractions, denial, bargaining, anger, depression. We get into all of these elements of ourself that what are we? How do we operate? What are these things? Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at these things, people would go, man, who's the toughest on the chart? And they're like, man, I'll tell you right now, man, depression fucked me up. Depression had me locked down. Or some guys are like, oh, I'm fucking angry all the fucking time. I want to fucking kick everyone's ass. Or you're going to go into, man, fear has had me in anxiety. I have been locked down. Or man, I can't believe in myself. I had no motivation. My feelings are fucked. My beliefs are I can't even achieve a goal or a dream. I am shit. Doubt had me locked down. And you're going to go, man, yeah, those are tough. Those are tough. Who's the baddest motherfucker on this thing?
Bottom right, big circle. It says the enemy within.
Well, that's going to be where they come from. This is home base, and these are the guys that come out.
Yeah, I was going to say that's where I think it is.
Home base is fear, excuses, doubt, distractions. They come out of here. So who's the nastiest?
Damn, let's see. Excuses.
Excuses are nasty. Excuses are. They stop you. They make you believe your bullshit. Excuses are definitely a nasty motherfucker. Excuses are beatable, though, with exposure.
Distractions
is really tough. Satan loves distractions. You know why? Every single time he plays the game, he's going to give you what you want.
Right.
So he comes in through distractions, get a free pass because they come in through what make you feel good. That's why social media, shopping, pornography, playing video games, doing bullshit, drinking, you name it. Anything that makes you feel good for a moment comes in through what makes you, that feels good. Come on in here, get in here. It feels good.
Damn. I just saw that you put something under love that says highest source of pain, which was interesting.
That is true. What's hurt more than the heartbreaks in your life, even if it comes from best friend betrayal or parents never loving you, or an abandonment from a parent, or the first love, that football spiked your heart into a blender. Like, yeah, love hurts
or
the
just
most.
loving yourself, you know. Just,
Or well, good luck with that. You have to know who you are first.
Yeah, man.
People don't even go through the phases of loving themselves. They don't even go on a first date. They don't ask any questions. They don't even like themselves, let alone enjoy being with them, let alone have a crush on themselves to even fall in love. They don't even know who they are. You know why they don't know who they are? Because of the nastiest fuck on here.
I'm excited. Denial.
This one thing, I have not met one woman yet who doesn't have this as her core piece for existence. And I haven't met a guy yet who doesn't suppress and deny his emotions in some way, shape, or form.
Interesting.
This one thing, do you know what this dresses up as? Protection.
Yeah, I can see
This
that.
is how you protect yourself. This is the mask that we wear to make it so you believe I am better than I am. This is the thing that I do to make sure you approve of me and you accept me.
Right.
If I were to have a party with bargaining, anger, depression, fear, doubt, anxiety, if I were to bring all these at a party, denial would come early with beer and food and help you decorate.
Right.
Denial would show up to say, this place looks like shit. Let's make it look fabulous. So that way people love you.
Well, I feel like denial is the ego and acting as part of it, right? Because it's like when you're talking about this, where I reverted those messages of the story, because everyone has a narrative, is protecting the ego. Like people will do more mental work and spend more time, energy, and money to protect their current paradigm of their story, which is denial, than to just accept the fact that maybe it's true, right? Like if someone tells me, hey, you're fucking slacking, you're better than this. And the trigger comes out, and I go, no, I had to sleep. No, I had to do this. I have this story. I have my kid. I have the blah, 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 blah. Like 6 trillion fucking words instead of just being like, maybe I was slacking that day.
Well, the warrior's way definition of denial is the war with what is.
Interesting.
So some things are, some things aren't. And so I have to challenge every judgment.
Sure.
In fact, if I were to choose an enemy right now that I'd like to expose in front of everybody, it would be judgments itself.
I like
judgment as a system of control. You're fucking slacking, Cal. You're not doing a good job. That's two judgments in one sentence.
Right.
You know, and this is the way that I try to control you to change for what I want you to be, because I have thrown an opinion out that you should conform to in order for me to approve of who you should be. I will let you know who you're allowed to live as.
Right. From another. And then the people do it to themselves. And they say, I should be doing this. And it's like, should is a judgmental word.
Correct. Or two is also, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too tall, you're too loud, you're too whatever. We're going to just say a two thing that's also a judgment. I just make one up.
Yeah.
You know, and so we just throw shit out there to throw out opinions of what I think is it should be like, and you're too much or too little of. We just throw shit out there. Blah. And people try to address or change or adhere to whatever that is without challenge, without question. And so in order for me to be accepted, approved of, loved, and appreciated, what do I need to sacrifice in my authenticity to match what you want me to be? And I will change to be that. If you don't like these sneakers, I'll buy better ones. If you think I need to dress this way to look like success, then I better buy that shirt. If you think I need to act or talk this way, then I'll work on my cadence and delivery so I can fit in with you guys. I'm going to put my eagle suit on so that I can look cool in my fucking jet plane that I photoshopped myself into. This is going to be, well, what did I sacrifice of my authenticity to try to convince you of and tell you this is truth? This is the war with what is. This is denial. I am fake. I am a fraud. I am not honest. I am not sincere. And a lot of times the pain from the sacrifice of what I've had to become so that you like me is too heavy to face, because I risk massive loss, perpetuating the reason I'm even in denial in the first place. So I need to feel good. So in order to feel good, I'm going to do anything that numbs the damage from me trying to live an imposter's life. So I'll drink, or I'll smoke, or I'll vape, or I'll watch porn, or I'll, watch TV all night, or I'll eat food emotionally, or I'll, online shop, or I'll be on social media all night, or I'll talk shit about other people. I'll do anything that makes me feel good, even if it ends up having a consequence or cost that does more harm. Denial plus distraction is the recipe for addiction.
Interesting. I love that.
So if people come at me with addiction issues, people try and go into, let's start with identity. My name is Richard and I'm an alcoholic. No, the fuck you are not. My name is Richard and there's something inside of me that hurts way too much to address. And since I'd never addressed the core of the reason I do not feel good with who I am, I distract myself to numb myself with alcohol so I can get through the fucking day. Mm-hmm. Well, why don't we go and tear the thing out that makes you hate looking at yourself? So that way I don't need to feel good or numb myself for something that isn't there anymore. And if I have a belief system that says I am an alcoholic, like AA says, then no matter what I do to beat it, I am still calling myself an identity of an alcoholic.
Understood. Yeah. That's interesting.
The words we use matter.
Yep.
In which case, the war with what is, denial, is the nastiest motherfucker of all. Mm. And that's just one element. You want to play the ladies' side? I got one for the ladies. Let's go into the pieces for what is makeup.
It's like just basically a form of admitting denial, like every single day.
Whoa, Cal, it's enhancing. Whoa. That's me enhancing myself. Hold on now. Yeah, let's look at it for what it is. First off, let's go off of what makeup is. What's the word makeup? If I were to make up something right now, what does it mean?
To literally falsify or pretend.
Just create something. I just make it up. I just make it up as I go along. I'm just going to make it up. So it means it's made up. It's not real. It's not authentic. It's not true. It's enhancing. No, it's made up. And there's nothing wrong with that because there are women who authentically are cool and comfortable with themselves who wear makeup, but most, it is a curse. It is a curse that was put on you when you were 11 or 12 or around early teens when the curse of comparison comes in because first we add doubt. Yeah. You are not good enough. Well, doubt by itself is like, okay, well, what's the offer? Hold on. It's not done.
Interesting.
You're not good enough compared to this girl, this girl, this girl, this girl, but you could be if you wear this makeup, if you have this eyeliner, if you wear this blush, if you have this lipstick, if you dye your hair, if you get a push-up bra, if you wear long nails, if you wear long eyelashes, you could be if. This is bargaining getting to play now. Now I have to go in and add denial. This is actually my authenticity. This is who I really am. The push-up bra, the waist trainer, the butt-lifting jeans, the high heels, the fake nails, the fake boobs, the big lips, the long eyelashes, the fake hair. This is who I really am. Well, now I'm denying the truth of my reality. Well, what happens if fear gets involved? Well, if they saw me without what I'm showing you, would they still like me? Would I still get attention? Would I still be able to be loved? Or would they all just reject me? I can never let them see who I am. This is not good. And so we throw in the excuses now. And denial plus excuses creates justification. This means I am completely the good one now by betraying every aspect of myself because of doubt, bargaining, denial, fear, and excuses put together. And I call this enhancing myself.
Man, that's so true.
That's what makeup is, especially for teenage girls. And it comes from this comparison curse that it's a team sport. And this is why I say, who's the strongest coach? All of us. You know why? Because these fuckers are teaming up, and so should we.
Yeah.
You think you're going to fight all of these alone? The deck is stacked, bro.
Martin Luther King Jr. had a really good quote that someone used in their signature of an email that reminded me of what you just said, which was essentially that those who wish for peace need to organize as effectively as those who wish for the destruction of war, which I thought was very interesting. And what you just said, I mean, women compare themselves more to the women than any other species I've ever seen on planet Earth. And this is reflective pondering that I've been sharing on the podcast recently, which is this Maverick is about authenticity, right? So what is the opposite side of authenticity? It's artificial. And today, women especially, at least physically, have gotten so augmented and are artificially jacking themselves up that it's like, what are you doing? Like, I look at them and like, inside and out, I don't know who you truly are, but you seem like a very beautiful human being. What the fuck are you fucking with all your shit for? Comparison.
Well, the burden of beauty leads to one thing. And so what's the most likely addiction when it comes to beauty?
I don't know. I would say attention or something like that.
It's correct. It would be attention.
Right.
You get noticed and you get more. And if you're going to tell me there's no such thing as pretty privilege, you're out of your fucking mind. You listen to the episode with Sumi Basani, and he's like, no, pretty privilege is a fucking thing. You can get into doors your friends can't get into. That is a thing. And so if you are able to augment yourself to be able to take yourself from a 6 to a 10 and you can do it, well, then do that shit, because the doors open that were closed before. I wish the world wasn't that way, but it is.
Right.
All of the curses that I've had to work with women when it comes to their self-esteem came from another woman. Self-esteem. Why am I not pretty enough? I talk to the guys. I'm like, any of you give a shit that she's a size 0 jeans? And guys are like, I don't know what the fuck. No, I don't care. But the women in their life said, you need to be a size 0 or a man will never love you. And you ask the men, I surveyed hundreds of men. I'm like, do we give a fuck about this? Because I'm down with the thickness, so I don't need a size 0. 100%. And like the guys are like, I don't even know how big or small is that? I don't care. You know, the guys don't really give a shit about that. So they're like, is she nice? I'll take that.
Yeah. I know. And there's really healthy conversations around that outside of the dumb, toxic roundtables they have on social media now. But like just seeing men being willing to accept women as they are, and women now, maybe more so in the past 15, 20 years, being so narcissistic that they have like these checklists of all these things. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? Like a dude could date a chick who works at McDonald's and be like perfectly fine with it. And not all women, obviously, but there's a lot of women now who are like, he needs this. I'm like, who the fuck are you?
It's amazing. It's amazing. The women right now, they are going to shoot themselves in the foot. And it's not something that I'm excited about either. I have 3 teenage daughters here. The way that this game is going, they get their asses kicked soon. Damn. They're either going to be a part of the change or they're going to get swept in the tide.
Right.
So like, it's a scary world to watch. So this isn't me going, let's bash ladies. I've got my own here that I want to succeed. But the way that this path is going, women, there's going to be an entire generation of women that just are going to show what not to do. Yeah. And it's going that way very quickly, where they go into the burden of performance being their identity, but now you are unlovable. And they are sitting there alone in their 40s, 50s going, well, it's because men aren't good enough anymore. It's like, no, you destroyed the good ones because you weren't focused on anything that had to do with compassion, empathy, love, connection, or anything that Cal would teach you. You didn't do any of that shit.
Right.
And so you're going to blame everybody else for your inadequacy because you should be loved for who you are, even though you didn't bring anything to love except for dollars. And he already had those.
Yeah.
And I tell these ladies, I'm like, you're going to work so hard on your PhD. You're going to work so hard on your business. You're going to work so hard on your finances and your success and your performance. But if I was with you on a first date and said, so you make $100,000, that's awesome. If we're together, what's my cut? What's my allowance if you make that much money? Do I get 20, 30, 40K to go play with? How much do I get out of that?
Right.
And women are like, no, you don't get any. And then why the fuck do I care how much money you make?
Right.
They're doing the wrong things, these generations of women. Then you go into hypergamy and you have the women who are successful, the lawyers, the doctors, the business owners who are self-made millionaires. And who do you date?
Right.
Well, you put yourself out of a window because you can't date a guy who makes 30K and be like, I'm in an equal or an up relationship. So these guys are in a position where these girls can only date a 1%er, and 1%ers don't want a competition when they get home. They want somebody who's cool and kind and sweet. They want to come home to Lois Lane, not kryptonite. I don't want to battle when I come home. I battle all day.
You're damn right, man.
And so these ladies, this generation is shooting themselves in the foot. And, I've seen even a video yesterday where a lady who was on my show did put herself out there in a negative light. I'm not going to address it because it's unnecessary. And I don't want her to look any worse than she's going to make herself. And so I feel honestly bad about it. And this isn't meant to slight. It's not a judgment. It's not me trying to be mean or cruel, because it would probably be meaner to have the conversation. And so I'm like, this is one where, ladies, you have opportunity. You have a chance to bring unity. You have a chance to bring compassion and empathy and understanding and connection. You have a chance where the voice that you have now, that people have fought for and died for you to have, is now being abused, thrown around with blame, shame, judgment in a way that makes you look unqualified for leadership.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Ladies, If you want everyone else to step up because you're a blame thrower, you shouldn't be leading shit. If you point the finger how everybody else isn't good, it's because you don't feel okay. Remember how Tony Robbins says hurt people hurt people? He also says happy people do not hurt people. And if you're saying I do all the work and you don't do shit around here, it's you.
Yep.
Because you don't appreciate the people around you. You don't build people up. You're not encouraging and you're not a leader. You're a nagger. And I'm putting it on the table right there. No names, no nothing. Just saying, there's the shit. Do you see? And we're getting this push for equality, but equality is turned into a subjective conversation for power, not for responsibility.
That's a good sign up.
Yeah, I think I went a little too hard right there. I think I just got canceled.
Hell no, you can't go too hard.
I just got canceled.
No, it needs to be heard, like just, and I'm glad because that voice will start expanding, the authentic voice over the artificial. Like there's just too much of it. It's trash, like.
Well, the intention is to help the girls. The intent, I have 5 females in this house. My intention is that they have a fighting fucking chance, and they don't with this setup.
Someone, it was a female author, had a really good audio clip I saved. I'll send it to you. Please. Where she was authoring this book on healing and like mental trauma for men and for women. And she pitched mostly to women. And she had a man come up at the end of her book signing who changed the entire course of her life, which was, he said, can you sign these books for me? I love your work. And he said, I realize you talk a lot about, women's problems in this paradigm, but not men. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, that's very convenient. And she's like, what do you mean it's convenient? And he said, because I have 3 daughters at home who would rather see me die on my white horse than to tell them what I'm really struggling with and to fall and have pain and be authentic as a man in this world we're in today. And it's like, that's the way most men feel.
Yes.
Like we can't literally connect in a healthy way. Otherwise we're labeled as toxic, narcissistic,
judgment,
too soft.
Judgment.
Like, what are you talking about? Like we're fucking human beings, dude. Like we can be strong, but goddamn, like you don't let a healthy release happen.
The weapon against authenticity is judgment. I've been saying this now in the last year of podcasts. The weapon against your business is judgment. That is the weapon to make it so your business is never going to make it, is judgment. It's not doubt. It's not fear. It's not knowledge. It's not power. It's judgment. Judgment is why people will not listen to you. Judgment is why you will not actually be successful. It's why you won't be heard. You won't be loved. People will judge you instead of understanding. Carl Jung, and I'd make it stronger for today's generation. Carl Jung says thinking is hard, so people judge instead.
It's true.
I would make it stronger. In today's day and age, women do not show men empathy in any capacity. That's why you said I'll die on my white horse versus them know about my feelings. They do not care about my feelings. Women are not showing any empathy for men. And I put it out there that men are more empathetic than women because we will fight and die for you, but you don't even care why.
You're damn right. You're damn right.
And so Amen. I would challenge it a little further to say Carl Jung's quote can be strengthened by saying thinking and empathy are hard, and that's why people are judging instead.
I love it, man. That's a good one.
So there's a lot we can go into, and we can destroy the world and build it back up again if we want, or we can call it right there. And man, it was awesome to hang with you, Cal.
Oh, yeah, it was. Well, I'd love to have you on one of my episodes if you're open to it, because maybe we can continue this into exploring some of Carl Jung's deep topics. Like I think one of the most fascinating that I recently read, and a lot of people have read it, The King, Warrior, Lover, Magician, but one of the most interesting studies they had found that I want to expand on in our own authentic voice, perhaps, is this concept that the reason that strong men are deprecating is these 3 main things. And we could argue this, we could add to it, we can enhance it, but it resonated, which is number 1, the fading away of the father figure in the family, meaning, single moms raising kids, father figure of some sort not being present when they're in early childhood to development. Number 2 was the sacred ritual of becoming a man, which I thought was very interesting because I believe a lot of us, especially in the Western culture, civilization, have these bastardized versions, perhaps, of what the ritual of becoming a man is, like gangs, like fraternity, like even though, I'm not saying fraternity is bad. I'm just saying like these more bastardized versions of boy to man maturity. or just none at all. And you just throw a young man out in the world and you say, fend for yourself and fucking make money and you figure it out. And then the third, which was the final, was toxic femininity. And I'm not talking about feminism in the sense of the fight for equal rights and be powerful. I love that feminism. I'm talking about toxic feminism, which is
judgment.
Fuck men. We don't need men. They don't matter. And it's like all three of those factors, you start getting some really immature masculine energy coming around.
Which is true. But each of these has their own answers that lead to the solutions. Each one actually has a bridge. And it just comes down to being able to do what we talked about the whole time. Can we have an honest conversation where we listen for a second? Can we be truthful about what is without living in denial? And can we not bring blame, shame, and judgment in order to go, well, what do we got here so we can actually lock shields and beat it? Well, right now, there's polarization to make it so that each one of these things becomes your fault. And if we're doing the blame, shame, and judgment game, these are the enemies of progress. These are the reasons in our creed, I don't care what you did. I don't care where you've been. I don't care what happened. Each thing is meant to teach us, not destroy us. Mm-hmm. And so if you're using things, we're like, where's the fathers? Where's the leadership? Well, what happened? Well, we use the legal system as a weapon to create, orders of protection to make it so you can't see your children anymore. Or the court favored mom, even though she didn't do shit to help. It's an upstanding citizen father, but he gets to see them every other weekend. And it's 2 weeks before he gets to see, hey, I love you guys. And mom says you're a piece of shit and don't love us. Well, fuck, that's destroying your children, toxic femininity. And then we got the ritual of being a man, even being a teenager where it's not discussed. Your love for being a little boy, but that transition for teenager is love for what you provide, but you can't provide shit yet. Mm-hmm. Burden of performance yields no results when you're at the beginning of the game. And so fuck me.
True.
I used to be loved for being a human being. Now I have to be a human doing, and no one explained it to me. Fuck. Yep. And then this toxic femininity. This only works without challenge. Yeah, I don't need a man for anything. And I'll be like, well, come do what I do. No, I don't want to do what you do because I shouldn't have to. Right. I'm like, there's a funny thing about this. That's why the transgender stuff. I had a transgender person on the call yesterday. I have good people in this world who fall in that thing. They're like, that's not the fucking thing we stand for. These things are nonsense because if I were to right now transition, I'd be in the strongest women on earth. Yeah. Now in men, I can't even compete because I have strong men in my organization. I can't even fuck with, but I can bench 335. I can squat 500. I'm not a weak man. Well, put me in the women's sphere and I'm one of the strongest guys in the world.
Right.
Or women in the world.
Right.
If I identify differently, I become supernatural strong.
Right.
What is this? Women can do everything men can do. No, they fucking can't. That's why we split shit up. It's not meant to slight. Look at Katie Palomino. She was a Marine, and she wrote the article that men and women are not the same. Don't fuck it up. It's not the same. We're not the same at all. She is, by all definition, a badass when it comes to women. Out of the 100 women Marines they put in there, she was number 4 baddest.
Damn.
She's tough. And she even said, I couldn't keep up with the slowest guy.
Damn.
She made an article. They took that article down quick, but she's been on the news and everything. They thought they were going to come in with girl power, and she's like, slow that shit down. She said, I really lived it. And it fucked me up. It's not true. And that's a badass, an actual trained badass. And yep. She's like, slow your roll there, Turbo. As soon as you challenge, is it real? It doesn't add up. As soon as we go, I want true equal. Equal isn't subjective. And so this is the argument. Here's the riddle. Cal, what is equal? If we have 3 people that have to go over a 4-foot fence, the fence is 4 feet tall for all 3 people, but one person is 3 feet tall. Mm-hmm. Another person is 5 feet tall and another one is 7 feet tall. Is it equal that they all have the same 4-foot fence? Or should the 3-foot person have a 2-foot stool, the 5-foot person stay the same, and the 7-foot person gets on their knees? Now everyone's 5 foot, right, which is equal.
Yeah. And then you start leading down into the rabbit hole of, is that communism? Because there's a lot of people who start looking at it like, what do we want to give people? Or do we not give people? Or maybe we're all just born with different circumstances and there's fucking lessons in that and we can just nut the fuck up and just deal with it.
Well, we all have different strengths. And so one person can go under, one person can go over, one person can go through. We have different strengths. So is the problem the fence, or is the problem that we're not all the same? let's look at what equal is before we try and figure out how to make it work.
I like that.
This is the riddle. So let's leave it there right now. It's such a pleasure to hang with you. Cal, we went through a high-level training today, and we dropped bombs that I hope pissed people off and opened people's eyes. And so there's a aspect of humanity that we just showed people. But if they want more and they want to work with you and they want to hang out with you, where should they go? What should they do? And how do they do it?
Thanks, man. It was great connecting with you. So you can reach me at maverickactivationinitiative@gmail.com for any questions and consulting. Go to the website maverickactivation.com to explore purpose, the Initiate Awareness to Manifestation I Am book and podcast. And then if you want to get into some of the secular coaching I do, you can check it out at watchtradingacademy.com. All the social media too.
Hit all the buttons, do all the things, like, subscribe, and check out the stuff. Cal, always an honor, warrior. Thanks for hanging out, brother.
Thanks, Rick. You're amazing. Appreciate
you too,
it.
bro.
Click on the button and you can become the hero in your own story. It's time to start making the choices to change. And the evolution that you're going to do begins with choosing the next step. This is the way. And together, we're always stronger.